Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes.
Yeah, all right. What do we have here? We have Pragmatic Crystal, Victoria. We've got Stool, Greg Hartwick, Al Trucker, Mark Caesar, God the Scummer. Purple, you there?
I was just checking, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Stool. Don't see as much of you as we used to.
Yeah, it's got spooky bed head hair.
Do something fancy, huh? Well, I did my hair up today. That's kind of fancy. Usually I just pull it back in a ponytail. Today I put in a little bit more effort.
Yeah. So it's almost your birthday, huh?
Yep. Friday will be my birthday.
Yeah. We'll have to get you something then.
Yeah. It's been July 19th for as long as I can remember. Of course, one of the funny things about, getting older is that as there's more stuff for you to remember, it's harder for you to remember as much of it.
Yeah.
Don't think I'm suffering from that yet. Of course, it probably helps that I never remembered people to begin with, so that, frees up a lot of space that most people, have just crammed up full of pointless socialization stuff.
All that socializing stuff, huh?
21st birthday, huh? I guess that means I can legally buy my own booze now instead of what I've been doing up to this point. But no, I have to be 31, I guess, because I'm 2 years older than Sloth Girl. And Sloth Girl is 29. No awkward questions about, how her daughter is older than she is. But
I'm actually planning on trying some of the Elijah Craig small batch. I'm gonna go over to the liquor store and get some of that. I'm not sure when, but soon.
what was that?
Some alcohol I wanted to try. It's Elijah Craig small batch bourbon.
Ah, sounds interesting.
But I have been really liking the Tullamore Dew honey Irish whiskey. It's a nice,
Honey
sweet one.
whiskey. I've never
Yeah,
run across that.
it's very sweet. It's very smooth.
Yeah, most of the flavored whiskeys I haven't been a big fan of, but I can't remember the brands now. There was one apple whiskey that was pretty good, and there was one vanilla one that I used to get when I was in Michigan.
Yep.
There's Jenny.
Hello.
Hi.
No, I'm not. I'm not really honest. I'm not. No, that's not why I'm late.
Well, late is okay. It's just I also hadn't seen you even post anything all day today, so I was a little concerned.
I've been mostly sleeping all day.
Okay,
Same
well
here.
that's good. That's good for you.
Yeah, I tried sleeping out on the couch last night, and Molly decided that she just wanted to keep walking on me and getting pet, so I
Yeah.
didn't get much sleep.
I got to sleep about midnight, which was good because I had to get up at 8:30 for a therapy appointment. But was one of those that, I didn't want to get up, and I kept hitting the snooze alarm, so I didn't have much time to get ready.
So what's our topic today?
Well, it's my pre-birthday stream. My birthday will be Friday.
Okay. Are we going to have a stream on Friday then, or?
I don't know. I
Mary.
might have a surprise stream for myself, but I can't tell myself that.
Very merry birthday to you. To you.
So all we can say today is happy.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
No, today we can say happy birthday. It'll just be a surprise if I have one on Friday. Because that's why you do an early one, because then they think it's all over with, and then they're not expecting it. Of course, the chocolate cake in the fridge might give it away.
I usually end up having cheesecake or pumpkin and pie.
Well, surprisingly, there's a chocolate cake from the Walmart bakery of all places that uses real chocolate. It's not all artificial flavoring.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's a quality level that's more than I would have expected from them. Soup vodka? What's soup vodka?
Something he's going
Vodka
to
made out
invent.
of soup.
Well, there actually is a pasta sauce we can get here that says it's vodka, uses vodka in it.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we got Stool and Scummer and Skits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Skits just came in.
Stool, Scummer, Skits. That's right. That's
Yep.
hard to say.
And Spooky.
Demon Orb.
Oh, I didn't know Demon had that name.
And,
I was just getting a kick out of the S's.
Ah. But yeah. So yeah, basically I was just looking for something a little happier and uplifting. Needless to say, my mood has not been good for the last week plus. Trying to struggle through and take care of a lot of loose ends.
Okay, if anybody else is going to die, please wait at least a month or two.
Well, everybody says it always happens in groups of 3.
Yeah, we've had about 4 or 5 now.
Yeah.
Well, we've had our 3 in the community now with Slothgirl, Lavender Lady, and Vonrek.
Yeah, that was a surprise with Vonrek. Damn.
Yeah. I got a message on Patreon from his partner, or her husband, yeah.
Husband.
That, so it was nice that her husband actually went out and did that. It's one of the things that has really been difficult on the internet, that I've had a couple of friends who just went quiet and never knew what happened to them. Had one of them resurface recently. It was, if anybody follows the channel, The Artful Narrator, he had actually gone quiet for about 2 years, and he popped up and made a couple of comments again.
You wonder
it's
why
a good
people
channel
do that.
If you're right. What's that, Jay?
You wonder why people do that.
Well, I know why he did that, because he was having a lot with his family, and his father passed away and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't know if he was ever going to be back. But it's a real good channel. You might want to take a look at major, as far as for writing. His main thing is a series he's got on the tropes of writing.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to check it out. And the name was what again?
The Artful Narrator.
Artful Narrator. Right.
Yeah, my brain's not working real well. I can't pull the link very quick now.
I need to excuse myself. I literally woke up to your message coming in.
Okay.
And I got to go wee and get a coffee.
Okay, I should have sent you a message earlier, but I just thought
No,
you'd
no,
show
that
up
was
when we were ready to start.
that's fine. I probably wouldn't have heard it. So
No, there's no rush getting in here. Go ahead.
Yep.
I'll be
Yep,
back
take
quick.
your time.
We got nothing much going on right now anyway, so. Yep, I'm working on a few stories.
We are here for the dolphins and the soup. I don't think we have any dolphins, although there's a chance of a porpoise coming in.
Speaking about, I don't know why, but that reminded me to check the weather.
A porpoise reminded you to check the weather? And there we
Speaking
are.
of which,
Yeah.
who else came? Oh, hello.
I just mentioned porpoise, and she appears.
Did you say it 3 times?
Well, Stool started it by mentioning a dolphin, so.
That's Stool with the dolphins in the chat.
Yep.
And but hello guys. It's been a little while since I've been on, by the way. And Purple, obviously, condolences on Sloth Girl.
Yeah.
You know, that was hard.
Yeah, her son and I are.
I mean, I don't know if Porpoise wants to talk about it, but I'll just say I'm sorry to hear about your news as well. So, everything's shit at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, Porpoise, we're not hearing you.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
I hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay.
Okay, we're on the right mic. I just needed to make sure it didn't get switched.
Yeah, how are you doing?
It's actually been a fairly interesting summer, minus all the other things that have been going on for me. I know it has. But I am sorry to hear about Sloth Girl. I had the call with my father yesterday. He went over what his wishes were in case they needed to use extraordinary measures to resuscitate him. But as far as I know, he has an autoimmune kidney disease.
Ooh.
Well, it's not like there isn't a history of certain autoimmune issues in the family. I don't know about that one. I know I have like Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition, but Hashimoto's is easily treated and it's not a big deal. But yeah, I guess they're transferring him to a rehabilitation facility because it's been getting better, but his decline was rapid and his palliative care team wanted to make sure.
Well, it's good that you and he were able to have that talk while he could still communicate it.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I was telling him he should tell us a couple days ago, but I didn't want to use the term DNR just in case.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to send off a scenario where he just gives up hope.
Yeah, I was kind of in a situation like that with my dad. I wasn't entirely certain if he wanted to be resuscitated or what. I had to basically make the decision on my own.
Yeah, well, with Sloth Girl, we went through and, she filled out all the paperwork to be very specific on what she was and wasn't willing to receive. We just didn't expect it to happen so fast. So I'm doing about as best as can be expected under the situation, but her son and I are having a hard time packing up all the stuff in her apartment.
Okay, that's just the kitty in the litter box.
Caesar. Yeah.
In this case, my sister and I and Kathy, his current wife, have all heard his wishes. His doctor heard them. I guess they're going to fill out something in Pennsylvania called a +T form, which is essentially a living will. But as long as the decision that was made was shared with the rest of the family. I mean, he was asked what he wanted, and the doctor was present, so there's no question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to redo all my paperwork now, but I don't know who to name because Sloth Girl was always my emergency contact on everything.
Yeah, I gotta get some paperwork done on that subject myself.
Yeah, well, I've got to figure out, I don't really have anybody locally that I'm close enough to, be able to respond and make quick decisions if I was in an accident or something.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. I should find out if someone has medical power of attorney as well.
Yeah. That is something I encourage everyone to fill out. Because you never know if they find you unconscious after a car accident, they need to know who to call and ask. So everybody should have that on file with their clinic and their local hospital.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've got that sort of thing on, contact details and stuff on file with like the National Health Service and so on. But at some point, I'll probably have to update that because I think one of my contacts is my grandmother, and that she's been dead for a few years now. So I probably need to have put a secondary another sort of secondary contact if my mum can't be reached, kind of thing. So
yeah, generally the hospitals don't have anyone on call to do a seance.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would really do much good to put my cats as my emergency contact, as most people don't understand them very well.
No, I know.
Yeah, most people don't speak cat.
They also don't answer the phone.
They blame that on that lack of thumbs thing that they think people need to design the cell phones with bigger buttons.
Well, I mean, as you probably might have heard about the UK, obviously we've had a little changing of the guard recently, and now Sir Keir Starmer is now the 6th Prime Minister to serve under Larry the Cat.
Yep.
So
I have found it interesting how many pieces I've seen about the cat since the election.
Larry's a national treasure, perhaps. He really is. And I don't know if you guys know, he actually legitimately has a civil service title, which is called Chief Mouser to the Cabinet Office. So he's this is something. This goes back about almost 100 years now that Downing Street's had a resident cat, and it was essentially hired there. They bought a cat for pest control because there's a lot of mice and rats in those sort of old buildings. And there's been a few that have become quite famous over the year. The cats. There's one that during Thatcher's time called Wilberforce. Then in the 90s there was a cat called Humphrey who was quite famous, and but like Larry, the current incumbent, has become like a real maybe it's the fact that he's the only one to actually have a Twitter account. I don't know, but Larry, above any of the others, has really caught the British public's imagination.
Well, I thought one of the articles said that he's now served under more prime ministers than any of his predecessors.
That is true, actually, but that's the old record was 5, which I think was I can't remember if Wilberforce held that one, but as we say, actually 6 prime ministers have served under him. That's the but it's the fact that obviously in the last 3 or 4 years we've gone through like 4 prime ministers. So
but actually that has a long history of it, because just as far as cats working bureaucratic offices, because any place that generates any amount of paperwork is going to attract mice for nesting material.
Well, as Spooky says, yes, we have some rats that were actually have been elected, but we no longer have a lettuce that was elected, and that was quite.
Yeah.
I was so glad to hear that Liz Truss lost her seat in Parliament. That was the one. No, I'll tell a lie. There was 2 members of Parliament that I cheered when I heard they lost their seats. One was a guy called Jacob Rees-Mogg, who probably won't mean much to anyone in America, but everyone in Britain will know exactly what I'm talking about. And the other one was our former Prime Minister Liz Truss, who was the one who was there for like 49 days and then managed to crash the economy with her rather ill-advised budget that everybody told her was going to crash the economy.
Yeah, but that head of lettuce was great.
Yeah,
the lettuce was hilarious. Yeah,
I think we should follow Britain's example in this. You know, that I think for this election, nobody likes Trump. People aren't really hot on Biden. A head of lettuce is the obvious candidate for the Green Party.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Who?
The Green Party. They're about the biggest third party we have in this country.
Okay.
Actually, libertarians, but
yeah, I would think that.
Our Green Party's just got 4 seats in Parliament, which is like the biggest they've ever had. But then we've also had the scourge of something called Reform UK, which are the populist, right-wing populist sort of people that I'm sure Stull's still in the chat. Will have some. He'll have some colourful words to describe Reform UK. So I just might. I'll let Stull describe them if he's still there.
yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about voting for Giant Meteor.
Yeah, actually, Jenny, I'm surprised that living in Minnesota, you're not familiar with the Green Party. They've actually managed to get seats in the state legislature from time to time.
I don't know them by name. I was aware there were some hanging around in government.
Yep.
That's the way to start it. Is at the bottom.
Yeah. I think they actually have like 2 or 3 seats on the Minneapolis City Council right now.
Was it? No, it wasn't in Minnesota because it was in Wisconsin somewhere, wasn't it? With a city that actually had like a number of socialist mayors.
In Milwaukee, we had 3.
It's Milwaukee, yeah.
Yeah, I lived under one of them. Not for long, and I wasn't aware of anything because I was just a baby, but I lived.
Yeah, way back in the 70s, Ohio had elected a socialist to their state senate. Okay, there's a ticket. Although put Athena in charge, Samuelson's just not at all aggressive, so.
Have you decided what you're going to do with the third cat?
Well, I'm trying to find a home for Ethan. I just haven't found anybody yet who can take him. I mean, he's the kind of cat everybody says they want, that he's very affectionate and cuddly and just wants to sit in your lap all day. So he really is a perfect little kitty, but, he hardly ever causes trouble. It's just a matter of finding somebody, and it's like the only people who are interested are like thousands of miles away. And it's like I could drive him to anywhere in Minnesota or Wisconsin, but that's about the maximum range I can manage.
And he'll probably find his way back as well.
I don't know, since he really, he's been an indoor cat, so I don't know if he would recognize the outside of the building if he got outside.
Those stories always amaze the fuck out of me, how animals can do that.
Yeah. But
oh, Sinister. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the screen. Hello, Sinister. I didn't see you come in because I wasn't here.
Yeah, Porpoise popped in while you're in the bathroom.
And I missed everybody else in chat too, like Mark and Spooky and Angie and Captive and Crystal. I thought, yes, Pragmatic is here, and
yeah, Pragmatic Crystal was here before we even started posting some links.
But I don't know who you are. Victoria is.
Oh, I don't remember whose chat I first met Victoria in, but has been around quite a while in a number of different channels.
But you didn't ask my permission. I'm sorry, the Homeowners Association does not allow these kinds of parties to happen. You have to get permission and a permit first.
I do not allow homeowners associations.
We're gonna fine you $3,000. Have a check on Monday.
Good luck collecting. Yeah, Mark's asking about the van. It's going pretty good. It's having a little trouble hesitating with the shifting, and after this is over, I have to go back and change the wheel on it because I apparently got a nail in one of the tires.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so I had to put on, the undersized temporary spare, which is okay for driving around town, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to trust it at highway speeds.
No, definitely not. Just have the tire checked. They can plug a leak if it's nothing extreme.
Yeah, well, that's I had taken it off and I dropped it off with the mechanic yesterday while I was doing my shopping, and so I've got the tire fixed and it's in the back of the van. I just have to get it put back on.
Well, my fuel line's holding up still, but I found out that my good mechanic retired, so I'm gonna have to find somebody else.
Yeah, well, the mechanic that I had do all the work on my previous car, I've liked, because there were times that they had told me, about like whether or not we should swap out parts. So there were times that they could have charged me for new parts for things that they didn't.
Yeah, I do know this other guy who's really good, but unfortunately he's always swamped. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I never go to a mechanic who lives in Florida.
Yeah.
They're always swamped. Okay, sorry. Terrible.
I had one. I had a joke ready that was worthy of Sloth Girl before the stream, and now I can't remember it.
That's not even the best pun I've seen today, actually. And how can I put this? I don't even know if this person meant it as a pun or not, but it was fantastic. It was as a former Conservative member of Parliament, we've got in the UK a lady called Nadine Dorries, who the best way to describe her is the biggest simp for Boris Johnson you've ever seen in your life. And there was a recent picture, like within the last couple of days, that Boris Johnson was out in the United States, and there's a picture of him and Trump, and Nadine Dorries wrote, Boris Johnson has President Trump's ear.
I saw that.
I saw that. I don't. Listen, if you meant that as a pun, that's very clever. But I don't think she did. I don't think she realised what she'd said.
Well, Hans is asking about the UK Green Party.
They're kind of, I suppose, they're left of centre on. I mean, they're sort of left on some things. There's other things I think they're a bit. There's reasons I wouldn't vote for them as well. Let's put it that way. I mean, I really had a choice between Labour and the Greens at my election as who I'd vote for, and I reluctantly voted Labour. It's not that I have any great enthusiasm about the Labour Party or especially Sir Keir Starmer, but at the end of the day, I just really, really wanted the Conservatives gone. After, it was more of that. And I think actually, if you speak to most British people, they'll probably say the same thing. They just wanted them gone. And there's an awful lot I don't like about Keir Starmer. I think he is a bit right-leaning on some issues. He's a bit wish. But the only decent thing is it does feel like especially after the last 5 years at least, it does feel like we've got an adult in the room again.
That's good.
Which is, that's about the only, thing I can actually say, considering that, we've had to suffer through Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and to a lesser extent Rishi Sunak. It suddenly feels like we've got somebody serious there, an adult there,
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
I'm not that enthused about that he's going to change anything or anything. No.
I'm hoping for the U.S. that in the next election we got people who are just deciding they've had enough of the conservatives, so we can get rid of like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert and all those weird characters.
I'm expecting things to get worse in our candidates.
Boebert, we have a good chance of getting rid of. Unfortunately, Marjorie Taylor Greene is in Georgia. She's staying, even though she's a goddamn moron.
Oh,
well, you have to place. You have to score very well in the dumbass test before they let you come into Georgia.
Well,
so,
see the closest
there is still a hope though, actually, because with the special elections they had to run, Georgia wound up with a Democratic senator.
The interesting thing about driving through Georgia that I've noticed is the roadkill always goes up. I can always tell when we entered Georgia and we went on road trips because the roadkill always went up on the side of the road.
Did it go up, or were they just not as quick to collect it as the other states?
I don't know, but every time we went into Georgia, I'd start seeing more roadkill.
I forget who the Democratic guy was in Georgia, but wasn't the Republican that ex-American football player Herschel Walker?
Oh yeah.
Because I only really knew of him because when American football first started getting broadcast in the UK, he was like the sort of star running back of the Dallas Cowboys at the time, but didn't realise he was such a nutter.
Yeah. He was good with the ball, not so good when he started talking.
A side note, Scummer, you'd probably be very happy when you find this out. I have seen more soccer and professional soccer and college soccer on television broadcast than I have ever in my life. I mean, there was a weekend a couple ago that I could have watched 3 different soccer games.
Well, there's going to be a bit of a push on it in the United States because you do realise in 2 years you guys are jointly hosting the World Cup with Mexico and Canada.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a bit of a push on it.
Men's or women's soccer?
That'd be the men's one.
Okay,
I'm not sure
the US isn't going to be there.
Oh no, as a host nation, they probably will be there.
Oh, I am pretty sure the U.S. men's soccer team is not going to be in it very long.
Well, you never know. They might make it through the first round.
They normally, I will say, they normally get through the group stages now. But I mean, but the U.S. women's soccer team were a bit of a shock exit at the last World Cup, and because ironically, because actually there was the European Championships the other day with England and Spain. In the Women's World Cup, the final was between England and Spain. Spain won, so it's both times. But
excuse me. Yeah, I have heard about the women's soccer a lot more. It actually seems like one woman's sport people actually do care about watching.
It's starting to get some traction in the UK again after a long, because women's soccer was in like the early part of the 20th century, was quite popular, and then the FA, the Football Association, being the
FIFA.
pigs. Well, I'm talking about the English Football Association, not FIFA, but being the pigs that they are, pretty much banned it for like 50 years. And I mean, this is kind of a big joke. It's like, had they not been such pigs, probably England might have won more women's soccer World Cups than anyone if had they not been such pigs. It would, because the United States, for the people that won all the women's tournaments, are a long time, and it's only recently like people like England, Spain, whoever, have started to catch up. So, I mean, it's getting popular. I mean, the sad thing is, obviously, there's still a massive discrepancy in pay. It's just the real big thing.
Yeah, it's going to become a very big issue here very soon. With this season of Women's Basketball Association, the pros, they are getting attendance like they have never ever seen before. They aren't filling auditoriums, but they definitely have half to three quarters in the seats, which is just amazing.
I'll answer Mark's question there. Yes, there's people in the UK who take exception to the term soccer, but they shouldn't. Because soccer is an English term, not an American term. Because a lot of English people don't even know their own history about that. The kind of football as it's commonly known around the world, it's called association football. That's that particular set of rules for football. And there's a little bit of the word association, which is to the end of it sock, and then that soccer that was an English slang word, which was commonly used in Britain, got very much adapted by Americans, and then for whatever reason we just reverted to calling it football. And now it's like British people will have a go at Americans for calling it soccer, but they don't even know their own history about the use of that particular word, because contrary to popular belief as well, people say about like things like the American version of football, well, you don't kick the ball. Football is basically mean it's a game that that is played on foot with a ball. So it's fair to call, like the NFL, gridiron football, American football, as we tend to call it. That's fair to call that football. Same thing with rugby is a variation of football. Australian rules football, Gaelic football. They're all variations of that same. They're all
Well, American football,
the same old sport.
Is the delineation between playing a game on foot versus playing a game on horseback?
Yes.
Well, an American football was historically a running game. The passing came in, fairly recently, really.
Well, I know it took an awful lot. I mean, in its early iterations, it borrowed an awful lot from rugby football. It was very high, and like rugby, there's two different versions of rugby football. There's rugby union and rugby league. So it's two entirely different variations of rugby football.
American football is very happy with its tours of UK that it's been doing.
Yeah,
the sales are absolutely insane for seats and paraphernalia.
Okay.
Well, for about 10 years now, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been talking about moving to London. Now, whether they actually will do it or not, I don't know. But they've got, because they are the franchise that's, I don't know, really tried to cultivate a UK audience. They've got quite a big following. So there's been a lot of talk on and off about the Jaguars moving London, but I don't know if it will ever happen.
Can I read this thing from the government that I just got?
Oh, okay. What'd they do?
Just pay attention to the date for the redetermination here. You have been redetermined to be eligible through a special auto-renewal process for a 12-month period. Your next redetermination is scheduled for January 2021.
Okay.
So apparently it took place 4 years ago.
You're late.
Do you have a DeLorean or a phone booth?
Yep.
Well, at least I'm still covered and I don't have to use the employer's health plan, which is just awful.
I also understand that the Major League Baseball is going to be playing some games over there.
They've tried a few times. It hasn't yet caught on. I know, like there was a couple of exhibition games with the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox played a few games over here, but I don't know if it really quite got the audience they were hoping for.
Yeah, they keep trying to promote it, but the only country it's really caught on with is Japan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't mind baseball, but how can I put this?
It's boring.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. Any American who says cricket is boring should take a look at their own national pastime, because cricket is way more entertaining. So, yeah.
Oh yes, Native Atheist has to remind you of the Math and Time Bandits. You don't necessarily need a machine. You just need to know where all the time holes are.
Baseball has taken root in more than Japan. Japan's had their professional baseball for 50, 60, 70 years now.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's been popular in Japan for a long time.
Central America is gaga.
Central America is very popular.
A huge number of our players come from Central America and South America.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that, but I don't pay attention to sports.
Southeast Asia is also an area that has taken to baseball.
I believe they've got this thing, isn't it, called like I think it's called like the Baseball Classic or something, which is kind of like the equivalent of the World Cup. And I think the first time that they held it, the fact that the United States didn't win it, and there was another country that did. I can't remember who it was, whether it was Mexico or Japan or Cuba, because Cuba is very big as well. I don't know, because the United States didn't win, it actually gave that tournament a bit of legitimacy as a legitimate world championships. But
the only baseball tournament I've known of that is actually a worldwide competition is the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love watching that.
Okay. Stool says baseball is rounders. Have no idea what rounders is.
Rounders is baseball. One of the sports it sort of is derived from is a British children's games called rounders, which is very similar. Played with a much smaller bat, and pitches are all like underarm and stuff. So, but I mean, baseball's got its origins in kind of rounders and cricket, essentially.
I think the real reason that that baseball really hasn't been popular in the UK is because your pitchers are such wimps.
No,
they can't throw that ball over 40 miles an hour.
Again, historically, baseball. There were genuine attempts. Like there were some baseball teams in Britain. For whatever reason, the league just did. It just fizzled out. But it was briefly very popular and had some teams. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, the first ever baseball world championship was between nations was won by Great Britain, and they beat the United States in the 1930s. And then for whatever reason, that tournament never took place again. So
Yeah, well, Jenny, they have to do, slower pitches and everything because they have to play on much smaller stadiums. You have to remember that England's only the size of your average Midwest state.
Well, that is true. I think it's smaller than Minnesota.
Actually, it's
Yeah.
pretty comparable. I don't quite remember which one was larger, but it isn't by much.
Okay, which is bigger, Minnesota or Ukraine?
I have no idea what the size of Ukraine is.
I'd imagine Ukraine, but
Yeah, Ukraine is. It's 1,000 miles end to end.
Yep, Scotland is about the size of Lake Superior.
yeah.
What about Lake Superior?
Scotland and Lake Superior are roughly the same area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we like Scotland, so that's a nice thing to know.
I like Scotland. I was born in Scotland. I like Scotland.
My ancestors are Irish, Scottish.
Well, if you're like most Americans, your ancestors are a very diverse blend of Northwestern Europeans.
My relatives could pronounce that, but that's all the further they went.
Yeah, I can see that chant catching on still. Yeah.
Actually, in my family, they both kept very closely to their ethnic groups, so I'm the first one who's really a crossblood.
Besides, I can also say cool things like I'm Pennsylvania Dutch, which means I have absolutely no descent from the Netherlands as far as I can tell, because the English-speaking residents of Pennsylvania didn't know the German word for German. Or, I don't know, no one really knows why the Pennsylvania Dutch are called the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Well, I thought it was Dutch because it was a mispronunciation of Deutschland.
Deutsch. It could be that. That's the most common reason. I also think either that area was legitimately called Dutch at that time, or if you look at the areas where they settled was once a Dutch colony at one point.
And I can tell you from many trips to the Netherlands that almost everyone I've met out there speaks English as a second language.
I heard.
Well, I speak English as a first language, so there.
Yeah.
My grandpa was Dutch. Sorry.
May I speak?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't drop the quarter in the slot. I'm sorry. I finally got an answer to my burning question for my entire life is why does the Netherlands have two names, Dutch or Holland and the Netherlands? And I got an
Holland.
answer.
Okay, I could tell you
NJ,
that. But yeah.
NJ told me that there's just a section, kind of a northeast section right along the coast that is considered to be Holland.
Yes.
Okay, and the rest, the whole country as a whole, is known as Netherlands.
Yes, Netherlands is Holland is like essentially is a region of the Netherlands, but for whatever reason, it's been somewhat colloquially, everyone will say Holland when they're talking about the Netherlands, which really is inaccurate. It's Holland's an area of the Netherlands.
Well, I'm so happy I got that information before I'm dead.
Well, yeah, I never understood that one either. I'm glad that you shared that with us.
I've asked Dutch people why, and they go, I don't know. What?
As long as no one from West Virginia stops me from referring to their state as Pennsylvania Lights.
What does that mean?
Rural Pennsylvania and rural Virginia do look a lot alike as far as geography. Some of their industries share a very similar history.
Oh, I see. Like goat fucking and things like that.
I was referring to the coal mining industry. But
oh, jeez, I'm sorry. Yeah, but they sell many more tickets to the goat fucking.
Canary killers.
Fortunately, I'm not from Pennsylvania's coal regions.
Hi, Beck. How you doing, honey bunny?
Hello.
Yeah, we're getting a good audience here. A bunch of people. Some that we haven't seen in a while.
So, I have an unrelated question, not that that's ever stopped me from asking it before.
Does it involve Swedish bosoms?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, ask anyway.
Yeah, and
But-
yeah, I'll just say, Stool, the less we know about your video collection, the better. I think that.
So someone has been asking me to take a look at one of their videos to see if I can debunk it, and I really don't want to. So what would be the best way to get through with that?
That's always difficult when a friend asks you for critique on their work.
What kind of debunkage did they want you to do?
I'm just wondering which chemical is which way you think would handle it. They're using something called trial division. I kept telling them it's like making jokes like 42 is the answer, and I kept making some weird analogy about pencils that made no sense.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it.
So
when I was a kid, I remember, this is before it actually being taught. When I heard the state Pennsylvania, I wondered why the state named itself after a light bulb company.
which recreational pharmaceutical would be best to get through it?
To get through what?
Going through this guy's video.
Weed.
Oh, yeah, weed.
I could check if there's possibly a one dose left of the morphine they left for Sloth Girl.
I think sometimes it depends on the subject you're trying to debunk. Usually when it comes to things like conspiracy theories, I think alcohol's the best one.
Oh, this is math and computer science.
Hi, Bree.
Okay.
Bumblebee.
And caffeine has a long history of being used in computer science, and probably math as well. But
yeah. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I so seldom use caffeine myself, I wasn't even thinking about it, but this root beer has caffeine. I usually don't drink pop apart from ginger ale.
Pop?
Yeah.
Listen, if you're in like the Midwest and the northern parts, it's pop. I still refer to it as soda because I'm not from the Midwest.
Yeah, well,
I think UK we just tend to say fizzy drinks is just what we tend to say. But
the only place I've lived that wasn't in the Midwest was when I lived in Syracuse, New York. So I haven't technically always lived in the Midwest, but I've always lived in a state that bordered the Great Lakes.
Technically, so have I, and the only one I've seen, and that's in passing. Oh no, wait, I have seen Michigan once. Is Erie, because I passed Lake Erie on the way back to Pennsylvania.
Ah,
I've only ever seen 2 US states in my lifetime. One was Florida and the other was Kentucky. So,
oh, please don't judge us by either of those.
Yeah, well, Florida. You don't need to worry. I was too young. I was like an 8-year-old and got taken to bloody Disney World. I was too young to sort of have any opinions. Kentucky was, yeah, I think, Kentucky was definitely. It was an interesting experience. Let's put it that way.
What's the similarity, or why are Kentucky and prison the same or similar? I guess is a better word. Don't drop your soap there either.
Yeah.
Oh.
What?
Well, Sloth Girl left a collection of stuffed elephants that need to be adopted.
Do you have any with the trunks up?
Probably. Yeah, apart from Petunia,
Hey,
Sloth Girl left a large collection of stuffed animals that we're trying to adopt out to kids who need them, and we'll take care of them. Apparently, Petunia has adopted one of the otter cubs because I keep putting it back on the pile every night, and I keep finding it in the middle of the room in the morning.
In defense of the East Coast, we may act mean, but we are actually nice. Unless you're in New York, in which case you act mean and you probably are actually mean.
Actually, my
Buffalo.
experience in New York was that the people who actually, in New York City, the people who actually lived there were actually reasonably polite. The problem was it was the tourists who were rude. So the people who go to New York to see all the tourist spots are going to run into a lot of rude people.
I don't know. I find a lot of rude people come from Illinois, where I live.
I can definitely tell you from some trips around Europe that I've come to the conclusion that the British are one of the rudest people. my own lot are some of the rudest people in the world when we're abroad.
Although, a lot of the people from Illinois seem to become a lot more mellow once they legalized a certain substance.
Yep.
It's cool. It's all cool.
Well, I do think a lot of the rudeness, a lot of the attitude just comes from people who live in overcrowded cities. You're going to get that kind of thing with any animal if they're overcrowded.
Yeah. Yes, London. Cough, cough.
It's called the behavioral sink. And I believe it was Skinner who developed it.
Oh, was that the guy who did the Rat City experiments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a perfect name to call it.
That's what they're called.
Yeah. Yeah, that he put a bunch of rats in an enclosure and to see what would happen when their population was out of control.
So they know that rats eat rats.
I think in the same kind of situation with no way to get out, people would do the same thing.
So it's a rat eat rat world.
Well, we know people have done the same thing, like the Donner Party.
Yep.
The plane that crashed.
I'd agree with that, Stool, by the way, as well. I would agree with what Stool's just said.
Not the British, it's the English that are twats.
Yeah, I'm saying that as someone who's English. Yes, we are complete twats abroad.
Yeah, but see, the posh English have the advantage of, it's all tonal. That good day to you could be anything from nice weather we're having to go fuck yourself.
See, at least in the South, if someone tells you bless your heart, you know what they mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I learned that one pretty quick, yeah.
Well, my late fiance grew up in Alabama, so I got to understand what that meant when she was talking about her aunts.
Which knee did she put her banjo on?
Yep. I just said she grew up there. I didn't say she stayed with it very long.
I will say something about this is one thing I'll say about Kentucky. I did get very, very tired after a while of being asked if I was from Australia.
It is sometimes hard to distinguish between the two accents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have to get used to a couple of people on here in Australia calling me a cunt.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's a term of endearment in Australia.
Well, I found that out eventually, but it comes across differently the first several times.
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
Well,
it can be it's kind of a term of endearment in Scotland as well, actually. But
well, see, Jenny and I are both in Minnesota now, and we have a New Mexico. I have thought that Minnesota should have been named New Canada.
Sorry. From now on, I am seeing all British people as like Butcher from The Boys.
Fair enough. Well, it's like, I mean, I think I'm trying to remember who it is, but it was some American who sort of said, obviously, he's only come across very posh British people, but they said, well, they don't talk about World War II. It says, we only talk about the unpleasantness, as we call it.
Yeah.
Well, some of us are very pleasant, and if we visited Europe, I think we would leave them with a memory of us being that way, and might change some minds that not all Americans are dicks.
Yeah.
Well, really, my plan when I travel abroad is to probably give Canada a bad name, but if anyone asks me if I'm an American, I'll say, no, I'm Canadian, actually. It's like American, except without a gun.
Well, I said that in one of the chat groups that if I was going to travel, I was going to put a maple leaf on everything I take with me.
Well, I will say, okay, this is probably one of the ones that where again, and I don't. If anyone's from Kentucky, I'm just saying, I'm not judging all of you by this one person, this one guy, all right. But it was this young at the time young guy. He's probably in his 40s now or whatever. But he was trying. I should just explain. I was out there for a group with 10 English guys and 2 Irish guys, and he claimed he had some Irish ancestry, and then he started asking these 2 Irish guys about like the troubles in like Northern Ireland between Catholics and Protestants, which is kind of just like I'm there listening to him as like, dude, don't bring this up, don't bring this up. And one of the Irish guys told him, "Oh, we settled that now. We said we got like a segregation system in Ireland, so everybody knows where everyone's supposed to be." And they said, now in Ireland, the Catholics drive on the left-hand side of the road and the Protestants drive on the right. and he believed them.
Well, as an American, that's not surprising at all.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm sorry to anyone from Kentucky. I'm just saying, I'm sure this person doesn't represent everyone in your state or whatever, but he wasn't the greatest impression we were left with. Let's put it that way.
He might have just not questioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably didn't think about long enough to really process that.
Yeah, he went. I'm trying to think that maybe he went away and like 2 days later thought, "Oh fuck!"
Wait a second here.
Yeah.
Or else he repeated it at dinner that night, and somebody asked, "Well, how does that work?" And he's like, "Well, yeah."
Yeah. Oh, of course. Still, yeah. I forgot you're over there now, aren't you? With all that.
So I have a question. Is Rishi Sunak a discount Vivek Ramaswamy? I hope I got that last name right. Or is it the other way around?
He is a conservative, and I personally tend to hate him based on his policies of hating trans people.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that the guy calls himself a fan of Southampton Football Club, honestly, as well. But anyway, yeah, sorry, that's my team. But Rishi's only a soccer fan when it suits him. No, I mean, Rishi. Well, you better get used to him because we're all willing to bet he's going to be living in America soon. So, yeah, apparently he's a lot of his fortune, a lot of his wife's fortune's tied up in the United States. We think he's going to resign as a member of Parliament in the next 6 months and move to the United States. As everyone's betting on that.
Nice comments, Stool.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say this, and I just want people to know something. I want to really preface this by saying I am not being racist when I say this. I want to be really clear. I'm not doing ethnic stereotypes here.
Yeah.
I'm very clear on this point. I believe Rishi Sunak was a waiter for me one time when I went for a curry in Southampton. I vaguely remember, and this isn't a joke or a thing. He genuinely did work a summer job in an Indian restaurant that I used to be a fairly regular patron of. He genuinely worked a summer job as a waiter, like when he was going for uni.
You know,
Um,
if you ever see him again,
and
if you ever see him again, I think you should ask for the tip. If you gave him a tip,
He
that
is-
you want it back.
he is from my hometown, Southampton. That is genuine. So I'm not, I'm not trying to do stereo. I always feel like if I say that I feel like I have to preface it. I'm not doing
Yeah.
racial stereotypes here, but
But
Well,
in his case, we'll make
that
an
is something
exception.
people should be able to look up.
no,
That
I
he
won't.
actually did have that job.
Yeah,
And besides, people working as a waiter really isn't that uncommon.
It's actually rather cliche for college students.
yeah. But
It's
the cliche is, and maybe because this is a UK thing, that the cliche is, okay, he's an Indian in a restaurant. He's got to be a waiter in a curry house. That's the kind of
Mhm.
the cliche that I'm trying to say. No, I'm not. Yeah, that so.
Yeah. I feel bad. I feel bad for the restaurant servers because whether people want to admit it or not, it is a job that how much you make has a lot to do with how attractive you are.
Well, I feel
oh, is that why I have no money?
I
Well, if you're
feel
living on tips, most people are going to tip you based on how attractive they find you.
yeah. Well, I will tell you now. I have felt very bad. Actually, I felt very
Oh, okay.
Indian restaurants in the UK. I mean, you know how big of a thing curry is in the UK. Like, it's always
Yeah.
sort of part of the culture now. But
So I've heard.
big part of that sort of culture used to be got like guys going out on Friday and Saturday nights getting absolutely drunk off their faces. And then at the end of the night, because the only places left open when the bars and the clubs closed were the Indian restaurants, they'd go and have food, and they could also get even more drink in there. And it was a bit of a time. I've seen this so many times of some of the racial abuse, some of the what the staff have had to put up with, and it to the point where I found it really fucking embarrassing a lot of times.
I was about to say it sounds like Taco Bell in America.
Italian food's still pretty popular here too.
Well, I mean, just as far as what people go for after the bars close.
Oh, I meant. And also, where I come from, it was Perkins or IHOP.
So I got Perkins here in IHOP.
Yeah. For us, it always used to be IHOP
or Denny's.
And sorry, I was just seeing the comment up on screen. That's a fair assessment of Indian food. It's a very much an anglicised version of Indian food that's popular in the UK. However, there is a bit of an appetite for more authentic sort of Indian cuisine that's just starting to take hold in the UK now.
Yeah, I've never gotten good service at Denny's.
No, I never really cared for Denny's much either.
Yeah, but ever since COVID ended a lot of the 24-hour places, like Steak and Shake used to be a really good place to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Your options are more limited. We don't have any Perkins around here, so it's either Denny's, a truck stop, or IHOP.
Yeah.
I like IHOP. That's the place I used to go with my dad a lot. I used to go to Perkins with my mom a lot.
I hate Perkins with all my heart. I think they make the lousiest food out there for sit-down restaurants.
Never heard of Perkins.
It's a small. I don't even know if it's a regional chain or not. We just don't have any around here.
Well, I've always heard that there's obviously we don't have any in the UK, but I've always heard like one of the best fast food like chains is a somewhat regional one in like the Minnesota, Wisconsin area called Culver's. Apparently
not that good.
Apparently that's supposed to be really good.
It isn't.
No, it's not.
It isn't.
Okay. We've got differing opinions here.
Okay, let me just say it this way: the ones in Indiana aren't very good. We have 2 in town now.
Okay, Culver strangely has a fish sandwich that is strangely good for being fast food.
Fish sandwich.
Yeah. Well, because they use an actual piece of cod instead of it just being, miced up whitefish or something. You
Oh.
can actually identify it as having at one time been a fish.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that is surprising.
I forgot about Waffle House because we don't have any of those around here either.
Yeah,
We
I've
got
never
Waffle
been to a
Houses here.
Waffle House in my life.
I
Because they just don't exist
actually
in the Midwest.
I
I've been
actually have in Kentucky. It wasn't bad. I personally thought it wasn't bad.
Yeah, they're okay.
It was probably preferable to Denny's. I'd say that much. Right?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah,
I
I
know from what I've heard that's a low bar.
I've heard people compare Waffle House to like the Japanese restaurants, where part of what you're getting is watching the chef perform while he's making your meal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except in Waffle House, it's the customers that are doing the weird things.
Yeah, the first time I went to a Denny's, it was like midnight. It was like they had a 24-hour thing going. And so I went in there. We were hungry. We were trying to get some food. There was like one other their group there. We waited like an hour before they even gave us their menus. We ordered. Waited another hour, and we still didn't get the food, so we just got up and left. That happened twice before we got to eat any of the food. And by the time I finally got to eat the food at Denny's, means I ordered some eggs for the breakfast meal, and I had eggshells in my egg.
Well, for a long, long time in Britain, there was only like say 3 or 4 American like fast food chains that were big, and obviously it was McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is almost non-existent now here. It's like because there's Domino's that have popped up everywhere in the last 10, 15 years.
I saw somebody posting a picture that Taco Bell was opening in London.
Taco Bells are popping up all over the UK.
Taco Bell and Pizza Hut are owned by the same company.
Yeah.
KFC.
It says KFC is Yum Brands.
Yeah, KFC, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they own a few others too.
The two that have started one of them that's just started, it's their second attempt to get into the UK market, is Wendy's, because they were here for a little while and then disappeared, and then they tried to come back. And Popeyes is just starting to pop up with a few, no pun intended, but
I love Popeyes.
I actually did try Popeyes.
Red beans and rice.
I actually did try Popeyes for the first time a few months ago, and I was like, God, this is way better than KFC, without a doubt.
I'd like to buy gallons of their red beans and rice.
Well, I think I've said this story before, but the one US brand that tried to expand into the UK and fell flat on their face because their reputation preceded them was Chick-fil-A. And they lasted about 2 months because their reputation for being, absolute homophobic bigots had preceded them.
I heard
they opened one outlet in a town called Reading, and every day that they were open for the 2 months they were open, there was a protest outside there.
I've eaten that Chick-fil-A a few times, and it was like having Stepford people there.
Our local Chick-fil-A is owned by lesbians.
Jen, you want to say something?
Chick-fil-A.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get over what Porpoise just said there, but
it is.
Yeah, I'm just a little shocked. That's all.
Well, we'll get back to that. But what was Jenny's thing about Chick-fil-A?
I found Chick-fil-A to be absolutely awful. Their chicken was dry, and whatever they're using in their breading or coating, it has a strong chemical taste to it for me. And I would never eat that shit again, even if they were liberal or good human beings, which they're not.
Yeah.
No, don't eat that.
Oh yes,
Yeah, I didn't
there
care
are.
for Chick-fil-A at all, but one time I had it.
Did anyone just hear Mage talking to his dog? Because that was a very dog owner statement.
Oh,
Yeah, I was talking to my dog. She was trying to eat some fluff on the ground.
yeah. There's one other one, American brand that sort of popped up in the UK. It's got quite popular. Some Five Guys.
Oh yeah.
They're good. I like them.
Yeah, they're getting quite popular in the UK.
Yeah, they're not. Their price isn't justified for their quality, though.
Well, you get all you can eat fries.
Well, it's one of those that, like about 12, 15 years ago, it was worth the price, but they've been skimping over the years, so it's like, yeah, now it's not worth it.
Hey, Stool, I meet the first two of your qualifications. Can I come over and work with you?
You're moist and sticky?
Yeah.
Well, we can get you a monocle, then you'll have 3 out of 4.
Not after a shower, but before.
You want the monocle before a shower? You'll get all steamed up. You won't be able to see.
I wear glasses. I'll just take an old pair of glasses, cut them at the nose piece, and tape them to my head.
There you go. That's good old American ingenuity there. Actually, the other day I couldn't find my glasses. So I actually did take Sloth Girl's glasses so I could look around the apartment to find my glasses. Like I say, they pretty much work. The right eye's a little blurry, but other than that, they pretty much work. I could drive with them if I had to.
Who was disappointed with Trump's incident?
The last thing.
Oh God! Do we have to talk about this?
No, we probably shouldn't. Actually, I'll withdraw the question.
I had a long argument with somebody yesterday online about this, and I'm just gonna say this: no, it wasn't fucking staged. Stop spreading that stupid shit about.
Yeah.
It was not staged.
Well, I don't understand the motives for it because I don't see any way it could have come out good.
No, it's this is the thing. There's a lot of I mean, I can think of a whole bunch of whether it's been U.S. presidents or presidential candidates where there's been assassination attempts. Okay. And in only one of them is there a definite conspiracy involved, and that was Abraham Lincoln, which was a demonstrable, but again, a conspiracy with a very small conspiracy. Every other one is just near more or less been somebody who's been acting alone, and it's not been a. And don't at me, everyone. I'm including the JFK assassination in that. I don't think that was a conspiracy.
I agreed with your assessment in that video.
Yep.
Yeah. Mage. Well, you know who I was having an argument. I won't get into it or not, but you know who I was having an argument.
I know you're having an argument. I was going on with it as well.
And I think that person's completely wrong and can't see how wrong they are.
The best theory I could come up with for the attempt on Trump is I think Melania just has gotten tired of waiting so long. She thought it would have kicked off by now.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened sooner, honestly, considering the animosity towards the guy and the overall tension. And
I was surprised he made it through his whole 4 years in office without somebody trying it.
Liberals are not trigger pullers. I mean, lots of liberals own guns, but we're the same people with guns.
With Trump, I was actually banking on one of his own Secret Service agents doing it so they could cover it up.
Oh, maybe that's the reason why they had such a bad response.
Yeah, I just thought that the people who had to work with him every day were the ones most likely to try and get rid of him.
I have heard a lot of the Secret Service not liking him, so it wouldn't be surprising that.
I don't think
Yeah.
But
I brought up the subject because I wanted to talk about how absolutely disgusting it is that they're trying to make cash off of this.
Oh yeah. Well, you knew he
Yeah.
would. Everything that happens, he's got to, use it to somehow promote his ego or his bank account.
This bullshit of, oh, I am different now. Oh, unity. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Just bull fucking shit.
Well, and the Republican National Convention is going, and you hear their speeches. They're not dialing back the rhetoric at all.
Anyway, what would I know? I live in an Islamist country now, so yeah.
How often do you pray?
Never. But
you're in trouble now.
Apparently we're an Islamist country. It's under Sharia law now, according to Trump's new running mate.
Yeah, this is he selected for his running mate somebody who is on record as calling him Hitler.
Yeah.
He picked the most unqualified candidate possible.
Maybe he thought that was a compliment.
Yeah, that's Trump's whole administration. He always picked the most unqualified people as long as they were yes men.
I'm just happy Steve Bannon's in jail.
Yeah.
I hope he misbehaves. I hope he misbehaves and gets another couple months.
I mean, thankfully, we in the UK have never had anyone who's just picked yes men to be in their cabinet. I mean, you'd never catch Boris Johnson doing something like that, for example. But
You mean Trump mini-me?
The European Trump, the European shit-gibbon.
Yeah.
No, I like calling him Trump mini-me.
Stool, is that serious? That he's selling fight sneakers?
I have no idea, but I'm going to look it up because
I've not heard about that either.
Well, he was selling Trump sneakers, but
well, it's completely believable.
Yeah.
See, that is the problem with trying to do satire like this on the internet. No matter how ridiculous you think you're being, if you're trying to actually parody them accurately, people will think.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they do. $300.
Can you share the? Can you share?
Yes, I will share this. Yes.
Well, with the first one of Trump sneakers that were out, Lauren.
Wait,
Boebert
let me double check this.
Lauren Boebert got caught with a pair of Chinese knockoff Trump sneakers.
Oh,
it's Wall Street Journal, so it doesn't look like it's a parody. There you are.
Hold on, I'm gonna zoom into this.
See if this.
Oh my God!
Yeah, this will be easier to see. Should this tab instead?
Yeah.
Fight sneakers.
This is not official Trump.
Why would you want a tattoo of Trump anywhere on your body?
Somebody stole this concept and did it themselves. You can't patent fashion. And it just does not reek of Trump did this.
Just before Donald Trump dropped into the yard, Trump sneakers dropped a pair of. So this is the Trump sneakers thing.
Rolling Stone is confirming the story, among other sites.
That it actually belongs to Trump?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the Trump sneakers. This is his own brand. His brand. Along with the golden sneakers that I'm not sure if anyone ever got.
Oh my word!
Listen, I can be tacky without Trump's help. Thank you.
Yes, we've been meaning to talk to you about that, Sinister.
Hey, just because I'm wearing a dress that has binary strings all over, which you guys can't see because.
God, my nails are a mess. I need to go in for a manicure.
Besides, I'm no longer showing my face on my regular YouTube channel, which is a shame because I can no longer wear those hats.
Mm-hmm. Well, why don't you, go make an appearance on Ember's channel, and then you can, the two of you can have a hat contest.
Where do you think Ember got that idea? I am the one who told her she should wear hats.
I didn't know you'd told her, but I knew you were doing it first. Okay, this I also find totally believable. Because remember, these are the same people who were wearing diapers with that slogan, "Real men wear diapers."
Yeah, that's not even confirmed with Trump. It's not the whole rumor that he wears diapers.
Right, and it is also not confirmed that it's a cult.
It pretty much is a cult.
It certainly is.
Trump definitely has a cult of personality. You can argue about whether or not
Yeah.
it's true, but the reason why people get behind him is because he inspires people in a way that Biden just doesn't.
Well, I will say at the very least that whole little fist bump after being shot was politically savvy. I'll give him that much.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very. I mean, it was a very smart move. And I mean, I didn't realize that the guy who took that photo just happened to be like a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer who just happened to be there. So it was probably his job to catch photographs in the moment.
It was.
But as I again, going to see, as I pointed out in a discussion with somebody last night, there's been a few photographs of iconic photographs of people that have been taken completely at chance and completely by accident. And the one that I would immediately always think of is the famous photograph of Che Guevara. That is like, that to me is like the ultimate in that photograph was taken completely by chance.
Or one that might be more familiar to Americans and may not know this story because they tried to stage it again later. The photo at Iwo Jima with the
Iwo
flag
Jima,
raising
yeah,
was taken in the moment.
Well, out of
That's true.
It's out of the sheer dumb luck of him surviving all this. Kind of reminds me of the situation with Hitler and the bomb briefcase.
Yeah. Well, as far as Trump surviving this, police reports have confirmed he was not hit with a bullet at all. That he was hit with fragments of glass.
That's actually incorrect reporting. He was hit by the bullet. The fragments of the shot was the incorrect reporting.
Someone was trying to tell me, and I have questions about this story too, that the person who was unalived after the shooting, because that's what the Secret Service would do in that situation, was rejected from his high school rifle team for being a bad shot.
Yeah, I have heard about I heard that about the shooter that was rejected from the school. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not, though.
Having grown up in rural Pennsylvania, I have one question. What high school still has what rural Pennsylvania high school still has a shooting team?
I think they have one around here.
My high school didn't have one. We did do archery in gym, but I think everyone does archery in gym.
No, it's usually only the girls that do archery. In my experience.
That's one of the other few things I was good at.
Yeah, everyone did archery. And I'm pretty sure that where I work now, everyone does archery.
I hated archery because I didn't have it in high school, but I've tried it. I don't like it because I can't pull the bow back. It's like I don't have the muscles. The muscles don't exist in me to do that.
Well, for me, it was at summer camp, and I finally figured out that I could do archery if I did it left-handed, mostly because my left eye is dominant.
I can do archery.
With a gun or an arrow, it has to be left-handed.
I did find out a couple of months ago on a friend's birthday which I will say we did this before we went for drinks, but I actually found that I'm not bad at axe throwing.
Well, see,
Never tried it
I've never
before, but
tried.
I found out I was pretty damn decent at that.
well, looking it up, the Pennsylvania does have a state high school clay target league.
Okay.
I just didn't know any high school near where I grew up that had that sort of thing. But that's also not a rifle team, clay shooting to shotguns.
Well, out here in the rural climes, they have lots of things that are different than the city. For example, they have a snipe hunting club here.
My hometown is about 6,000 people. That is not a city. And
It
also,
is to people here.
well, a lot of states will incorporate a town that small as a city, but it's a small town. In Pennsylvania, usually a town that size is incorporated as a borough.
Apparently, the whole him being rejected from a high school rifle team comes from supposedly from a ex-classmate of his reported in CBS.
I just want to know what high schools still have them. I mean, there's no reason they couldn't. Is that sport in the hallways? What sport in the hallways? Sorry, I seen a comment. No, you don't do archery in the hallways.
Well, that would be a good place to practice, wouldn't it?
Godless Scummer is back, if that means anything.
No, doesn't mean anything.
So I
We're
don't
back,
know what
huh?
happened. Yeah, I don't know. Internet crashed for a second there. So
Damn liberals.
well, you know, that's what we're now living in the Islamic Republic of Great Britain. You know, there might be the internet access might be getting cut off soon.
Well, at my high school, we did archery on the football field. And not on the football field itself, just a little.
Like I say, for me, it was more a summer camp thing and just.
And if you got a bullseye, the gym teacher would buy you a soda.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that's. Yeah, I mean, it's more of a sort of. It's not something you exactly. There might be one or two schools that have archery clubs or something in Britain, but it's not a big thing. But although obviously at one time in England it was an absolute mandatory thing for boys to do, but
I wouldn't mind getting into archery again.
Where I went to high school the first 2 years, actually, it was like Jenny said that there was an archery team, but it was only for the girls.
Tubian, can we please not bring up Von Helton? I would like to forget about that individual.
Is that guy... Fucking hell, that's a blast in the past. Is that guy still even around?
I'm sure he's on BitChute spouting ridiculous
What's the deal behind Von Hell? I've heard of this for years and have no clue what it's about.
He's just one of those people like to make fun of online because he says the dumbest things.
It's just kind of like, to be honest, I'd do videos of him if it wasn't for the fact that I feel like I'd be kicking a puppy. It's that soft of a target. It's like it's like people who do videos on that guy G-Man or something. You're picking on such a soft target that it's just not. It's like kicking a puppy if you're doing videos on like G-Man or Shani or any of those fuckwits.
Yeah, there's low-hanging fruit and then there's groundfall.
Yeah.
And mostly it's just cyberbullying at this point. Now, Von Helton does have some things in his background that make him a despicable human being. But even if he's a despicable human being, he's still a person.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one person on the internet that I might, to say, completely take the gloves off with, but this person's such an irrelevance now that I wouldn't even bother with him, and that's that bloody Darth Dawkins. But he's such an irrelevance now that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I never got into making response videos.
Yeah, well,
You know, because it's just I don't deal with drama. I just don't want to at all.
I've done a few. I mean, I've made the mistake of diving into drama a few times, and I've always lived to regret it.
Oh, if you're going like, sometimes you can't avoid it. Like sometimes it's like if your channel's on a certain topic, someone will say something really stupid that you have to cover.
Yep.
Well, I know. Well, it's just without going into too many details, Porpoise. I think you and I were, should we say, on opposite sides of a certain argument, certain person at one time. But I'm kind of very much in your camp nowadays. So
Yeah, the best thing to do with him is just ignore him.
Well, you know, I did have one
which
instance.
is what I've done for over a year now. I've just sort of cut ties with him and let him go on his merry way.
Go ahead, Purple.
I did have one instance where, you know, somebody said something in one of my streams that the rest of us did not endorse at all, and you know, we kind of let it go, but then somebody clipped that and used that in a video. You know, but instead of making a big drama thing about it, you know, I messaged them privately, and there was a third party involved, and it's like, we dealt with it all privately. There was no need to make a public drama out of it. And he put a disclaimer on the video that no, even though this came from my channel, I did not support these views.
Yeah. Hey, most of my summer has been spent arguing with people who are trying to convince me that 1 + 1 = 2.
You mean 1 × 1?
It doesn't matter. I get the joke.
There are certain types of math where 1 × 1 can equal 2, yes, but those are advanced maths. And if you read where it comes from, he's clearly not talking about those types of math.
If anybody in the chat doesn't know what we're talking about, Terrence Howard has lost his mind and came up with I don't know, a manifesto, a treatise, I don't know, some long bullshit writing, how he questions everything in the universe and including 1 × 1 = 2.
Yeah. You can read it and you can find out he wouldn't pass 3rd grade math.
Yeah.
It's a bit
but he's very good at bullshitting, and so when he just says that kind of stuff to the right audience sucks it up. This man's a genius.
In other words, he's going to be a Republican candidate for Congress soon.
Well, I used to. There was always the one you used to do as a litmus test back in the day, like if you put up a Twitter or Facebook poll or something and say,
Sorry,
say it again.
Jeff,
you got cut off.
We were only getting like every other word there.
I think he's having some internet issues.
Yeah. Well, that's why he's dropped out a couple of times and came back. So I think he's lost his signal now because we don't hear him at all.
Well, it kind of makes sense why he got replaced by his roadie in Iron Man.
That had more to do.
There were some other issues in that, but it was
I'm sure there were
mostly centered in him being a jerk.
And Don Cheadle being cheaper.
Oh, am I back now? I think I got cut off.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Well, so it was like the old litmus test you used to do on like with Twitter or Facebook polls back in the day, and just put out the question: should Arabic numerals be taught in schools? And just sit back and see what some of the responses would be.
I love that.
Yeah, I saw when that made a round on Twitter.
The other one I like using is calling somebody a Homo sapien.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Oh man, do the right wingers get upset because they've never been to school and things?
Thinking they actually did use that in X-Men, so.
Or asking if the U.S. should bomb Agrabah.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Bomb who?
Agrabah.
The fictional city in Aladdin.
Oh, well, also the invasion of Wakanda. Wakanda.
Yeah.
Was it? I don't know. Now, I think this quote has been attributed to Mark Twain, although I don't know if this is genuine, but the whole quote of war was invented to teach Americans geography.
I don't think that's Mark Twain, but
No, I think it's been falsely attributed to Mark Twain a few times.
I would not put it past him at all. He says some pretty outrageous
It does
stuff.
seem his style, but I
Yeah.
don't know if he actually said it.
But of course, my favourite one is the problem with quotes on the internet is you can never tell if they're genuine or not. Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I'm gonna look up this one. What was the quote again?
War was invented to teach Americans geography.
Okay,
I've heard it attributed to Mark Twain, although I'm skeptical about whether that was something he actually said.
all right. It was not Twain.
Okay.
Okay, I won't look it up then.
It was not Ambrose Bierce either.
Quote Investigator is a pretty good site for figuring this out.
That's what I'm looking at right now. In 1884, the New York Times printed a comment linking warfare to geographical instruction.
Tubian, we get that reaction all the time on TikTok, and I'm sure Twitter, because Elon banned the word. People just do not like being called cis men or cis women, especially the men. I'm sure that they connected somehow to sissy, even though it's spelled with a C, not an S, and they're ignorant as a stone. So
it's not really connected to sissy.
Okay.
But...
No, it's not.
He's saying that Mark Twain didn't actually say it, but it was used in the title of a biography on him back in the 70s.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably where that come. Yeah.
Really, because I'm seeing the most recent quote that can actually be attributed to someone is being attributed to Jon Stewart.
Okay.
Who's Jon Stark?
Stewart. The Daily Show.
Yep.
And it does sound like something Jon Stewart would say.
Yeah, it would fit.
So, yeah, I'm not finding too much.
Yeah, Stuhl, why did they have to invent geography just as I was getting into school then, huh? Couldn't they have waited a few years so I didn't have to learn it?
Geography's good.
So, when you were at school, they didn't have history, all right? So,
well,
or
course,
math.
Just getting started.
Yeah, the Dead Sea was still sick.
Did school get more enjoyable to take when you got electricity?
Jenny.
Vaguely.
Well, I still want to know, in the mid-70s, they were pushing that we had to learn the metric system because by, 1980-something, the whole country was going to be metric.
In all honesty, we should switch over to the metric system for everything except buying gas.
Yep.
We're kind of like half in, half out on the metric system. It's so.
Yeah, but you know why the U.S. abandoned the metric system? Reagan cut it as a cost-cutting measure because he didn't want to reprint the highway signs, and because of the cost it was going to take for the military to retool everything.
Really, someone just should put it out if they use the metric system. It'll cost them 1/10 as much.
Beamsy, you come on to TikTok with me and spend a night or two, and then say that, okay?
Okay, that was a terrible joke.
They just absolutely reel at the word cis and scream and yell about being called it, and I've had a number of them say, "I am not a sissy, dude. That's not how it's spelled." And just these insane claims about it. Yes, you try to explain to them that cis means what it means and trans means what it means, and they just don't get it, or they would completely deny the truth.
Listen, Jenny, what does it help us to understand Latin prefixes? It's not like 60% of our language comes from Latin words in the first place.
No, it's not. It's 75%.
It's 60.
We were taught 75%
It's 60.
in high school Latin class.
Which is weird because English is still a Germanic language, but
Yeah. And if you ever see any actual Old English, yes, you wouldn't recognize it as anything like modern English at all. It's Germanic with maybe a little hint of tiny hint of Gallic language in there as well. If you actually look at Old English. And a lot of people get Old English confused with Middle English, like Chaucer's period. It's just like Middle English, but
you can kind of read Chaucer in Middle English.
Yeah.
And I
See
say-
here, according to dictionary.com, about 80% of the entirety in the English dictionary is borrowed, mainly from Latin. Over 60% of all English words have Greek or Latin roots.
Yeah, there are other languages in there, like Danish is a big one, I believe.
Like German, French, there's Norwegian words in English. There's
Well,
lots of different places.
France is obvious, but most of the French words derive back to Latin anyway.
Yeah, the French are crazy when it comes to language, for absolutely forbidding certain words because they don't sound French enough. I mean, that's just ridiculous, but it's France, you know.
Sacre bleu.
Yeah, there's two main things I can see where people are getting the whole cis being a slur thing. And one that has a whole thing is similar to what we saw with gay and straight back in the 80s and 90s, where I'm not straight, I'm normal bullshit. You also see some group of the left of using it in combination with terms that are negative, usually in attacking white guys. So you also get that group. If you've only heard it in that context, you can get the impression that it's a slur.
Yeah, people are idiots.
These right wingers are actually saying stupid things like that white men are the most discriminated against group on the planet.
I wouldn't say that to be the case. But.
Yeah.
I've heard it so many times I can't tell you.
I've heard it. I hear it on a daily bloody basis. And
I have heard it multiple times, and it's always from the MAGA crowd.
There is discrimination from the left and to that group, but I wouldn't say it's the most discriminatory.
Yeah, I'm not saying it never happens, but I'm thinking that it happens to them more than anyone else.
And it's not discrimination either when it's true.
A lot of it is just they don't understand the difference between just discrimination and loss of privilege.
Right, that's usually what it is. Although I need to.
I mean, look. I mean, I fit the living definition of like cis het white male. Okay.
Yeah. Although I need to back up a bit since I had my headset off. English does not borrow from other languages. English follows other languages into dark alleys, roughs them up, and goes through their pockets for loose grammar.
Yeah.
I also heard somebody who seemed to be a more learned person than I, which isn't really very hard if been in high school and stuff, that said the English accent that we know today was invented intentionally by the posh so they could separate themselves from the fodder out there.
I've heard that, but I don't know how true that is. I haven't really seriously looked into it. I have heard that before, but I doubt. I have certain doubts on its authenticity.
The whole reason you have the superfluous U and those other French spellings mixed in there is in the 1700s. The nobles decided that English was the peasant language, and the nobles were all going to speak French for about 50 to 100 years.
Yeah.
Beansy,
Hold
I'm
on.
not sure what you're saying there, but it has something to do with being shit.
There's a bit about American history there.
No.
Which is why the U's got dropped, and that's because Noah Webster was trying to develop an American language, and as part of his spellings, he dropped all those unnecessary U's.
I thought it had to do with
Honor.
with newspaper printing, wanting to save on.
I doubt that because Noah Webster was.
I've heard the thing that Sinister is saying.
I
Yeah,
heard it was newspapers trying to just save on ink and printing.
The part on newspapers wanting to save on ink and fit more onto a page sounds like an idea Ben Franklin would have come up with.
Yeah, but Noah Webster did that, I'm pretty sure, after Franklin died. I mean, I think they're
Okay,
overlap.
I'm not saying for sure it was Franklin, but it would fit along the lines with some things Franklin did with his newspaper.
But Noah Webster is why we have Webster's Dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure when Webster's Dictionary came out. When was the first edition?
Beamsy, yes, if you could translate that into Taiwanese, that would be helpful for me.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Merriam-Webster's the sort of standard one in the US, isn't it?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I'm sure there's. It's like in Britain, like the Oxford one is generally the standard one, but there are others like the Collins and Cambridge dictionaries as well.
I think in America we use the Oxford as the primary one that we will go to for final definitions and stuff like that.
I do try to use the Oxford comma.
Oxford is considered the one for academics. Webster is more kind of colloquial use. But I Googled it, and the first edition of Webster's Dictionary was published in 1828.
Yeah, so after Ben Franklin died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the British sitcom Blackadder.
Oh yeah, so we have the whole series on DVD.
Well, okay, Blackadder the Third with Robbie Coltrane and Samuel Johnson, the dictionary. When Blackadder starts trolling him, that is one of the funniest gags
I remember that episode.
He's just inventing words that have clearly never been, that are not words whatsoever, just to troll Samuel Johnson. It's so funny.
I thought Blackadder the First was kind of weak compared to the later ones.
The first one, I think the first one they were trying to feel out. The character. I think by the second one they sort of figured out the characters a bit better, and I mean the one that I think everyone will universally say was the best series was the fourth series, set in the First World War. That's the one that I think everyone will say without doubt.
I think it's generally true of any popular show takes like at least halfway through the second, if not into the third season, before all the actors and writers can agree on who the characters are.
Well, it's like between the first season and the second, some of the characters switch. Like Blackadder's kind of stupid in the first series.
Well, Baldrick's the intelligent one in the first series. It's like in comparison to Blackadder, but it's like they sort of like when they made in the second series, like Baldrick was the most dumbest guy on the planet, And
I'm going to learn alchemy by this afternoon. So
Lord Percy, yeah.
So the fact that hundreds of alchemists for hundreds of years haven't managed to successfully convert lead into gold is not I also did like their take on the Christmas Carol.
Oh, that was funny. That one was funny.
But that was it was just a special where...
Yeah, it was a one-off special, It was essentially it was the Christmas Carol in reverse, where like Blackadder starts off as this really nice, generous guy who loves Christmas and everything, and is nice to everyone, and then gets the Scrooge treatment and ends up as Blackadder essentially. So,
Well, he has to be shown what happens if he's bad.
yeah.
That's okay, BMZ. I got it. It should be coming up pretty quickly on however far behind StreamYards is.
Well, there's a 3-second delay between what we say and what they hear. So.
Well, so far it's been 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, I think we just didn't. There it is. Is that what you were referring to?
No. No, I translated their French.
Listen, I think if for an alphabet, we should just go back to Anglo-Frisian Futhork. Think about how much cooler English writing would look.
What, all that scrolly stuff?
No, the runic stuff in Lord of the Rings is based on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, this must be a British thing. What's an aurist?
That's a reference to Blackadder.
That's the Blackadder thing, the alchemy thing.
Oh.
Where he thinks he's created
Okay,
gold, and it's just like this, like splotch of this green substance or whatever, and it's like, no, I've created a lump of pure green.
Yep, actually, that was a Christmas present from Slothgirl several years ago, where she gave me the whole Blackadder set on DVD.
Mm. But like I said, the thing of it is I mean, obviously, I always say the fourth season's the best. But even though I was quite young when it was first broadcast, I can remember at the end of the fourth series when they go over the top.
Yeah.
I can tell you that there was not a dry eye in the country. It actually just made people cry when they went over the top. You know, it just, you know, it went from being, you know, like Blackadder to suddenly being, holy shit, this is really deep, you know.
Yep.
The whole fourth season, I don't know why you guys call the season series. Well, in this case, they are a series because they're like hundreds of years apart from each other. But
yeah,
is all about them trying to avoid getting sent over the wall because they realize the war is pointless. And the ongoing joke with the general is like, oh, but they won't be expecting us to do this same thing that failed all the other times this time.
It's the classic lions led by donkeys thing, isn't it? And
do you think
I'm
sorry to interrupt. Do you think that YouTube censors some comments?
Yes.
Because the translation that, according to Google Translate, that was hanging out here from BMZ, it's holy shit, motherfucker. It's so.
It's not
also.
even
Also, you set it to live chat or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a question that YouTube censors some comments. It automatically does it just based on an algorithmic decision, searching for certain words in the comment. You've probably run into it if you said certain things you didn't realize that or ran afoul of it. And sometimes certain words will be banned on certain channels. Like, just because someone was making word assumptions, I had to ban the phrase gender ideology.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I was not aware though that that
I had
not showing up in the StreamYard chat.
I had to use that. I had to use that phrase in conversation today when talking about something, and I had to make sure that I put that in quotation marks. The quote unquote gender ideology, like there was a specific reason for me using that terminology.
Yeah.
Stool, why don't you spell it correctly and let's see what happens.
The thing is, it had nothing to do with what the topic of the entire thing was about anyway. It's like they were just mad I called someone a conspiracy theorist who is objectively a conspiracy theorist.
Yep.
Mm.
Well, that's the problem that YouTube has had for years and years. Is that instead of censoring the people who are spreading the bad science, they are censoring the people who are debunking the bad science.
Oh god, the amount of like the flat Earth debunkers who've had their videos taken down while the flat Earthers have had their videos left up is incredible.
Yeah, and the moon deniers.
Yeah.
Moon landing deniers. Yeah.
But no, this was just, I called Eric Weinstein a conspiracy theorist, which he is. He just believes in more believable conspiracy theories, and people didn't like that.
Such as?
COVID denial.
Oh.
Lord.
Or not COVID denial, but COVID vaccine denialism. Anti-vax.
Yeah, anti-vax conspiracies.
The election was stolen.
Bob Knoble was flat Earth or anti-COVID.
I mean,
of course,
I know
what killed him.
I mean, I know Mage said that he watched the video I put out the other day about what happened with the Trump thing and why I think the way I do about that. No, there's no conspiracies here. But I was preempting because of what I said about this. That yes, I would like because I was somewhat predicting there's going to be some people who watch it who are going to bring up the Kennedy assassination, and I know there's going to be a comment. So I'm just saying, okay, there are some links I've put in the description. You go and there's a little start for you, and then if but I'm not. But basically, that's a little introduction to the way I think what I do about this. But I'm not wasting my time debating Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories in my channel, so don't waste your time writing them.
And the people who were using their cell phones to post on Twitter that they were going to use the vaccines to track us.
Yeah.
Does it never occur to you that they can just track your cell phone? It's much easier.
Beamsy didn't. I suppose you probably didn't get the release. National Institute on Health explained that what's happening with the 5G chips in your bloodstream is that if somebody has a serious case of hardening of the arteries, that the 5G signals can't get through.
Yeah, that's incorrect because the initial chips had the 802.11b protocol, and the newer ones have upgraded to 802.11 AC.
Well, but slow people are to.
I think admittedly now I haven't necessarily done a genuine deep dive into whether this was true or whether this is one of those sort of things. But there was a famous one by Trump at some point when he was on Twitter complaining about Apple for some reason and saying for whatever reason we should all boycott Apple, and then underneath it said tweeted from iPhone.
Wow. There are valid reasons to dislike the founder of Apple and Bill Gates that have for stuff but ancient history by this point.
Yeah, and it was just the irony of this. We should boycott Apple, and it's just underneath tweeted from iPhone.
I still have a .mac email address from the first month that they opened it.
I'm pretty sure I have a .icloud.com email address that I never use because you have one if you have an Apple device.
I've got a Yahoo address that's so old it's less than 6 characters. You can't do that anymore.
I think somewhere I've still got an AOL address.
Hey, Angel Fire is still around if you want to make a 90s style website. And there's a new one called NeoCities that's trying to imitate GeoCities.
Really?
Yep. I don't know why people would get nostalgic for 90s era website where they were starting to develop better HTML tags, and CSS hadn't become the standard yet.
Atheist Edge, do people confuse your name for something to do with a particular activity in certain relationships?
Well, it's the one that Jesus is the champion of, because he's been on the verge of doing it for 2,000 years.
You nailed that Jesus joke.
Oh dear.
You know, if Jesus was crucified today, they'd use night ties.
Hey, don't cross me.
Nylon tie straps, excuse me.
Oh, zip strips.
Sorry. I mean, honestly, I don't really care if people believe, as long as they're not trying to limit the rights of others.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only when they're trying to pass public policy about it that I get irate.
Well, Stu, I didn't want to offend some people who may be offended by such a crude thing to say, and now you've done it. You've done it instead of me. God.
And if
There is nothing.
Still being crude. No,
Typical
way.
English people.
There is nothing
No.
crude about edging. I need a trim router to take it off of the shelves, and you have to, use a little sandpaper to smooth it up so it doesn't catch.
I thought it was what you did with that stupid machine on your sidewalk.
Hey, I'm sure if there. Just want to say, I'm sure if there is a God, he is not as petty as most people portray him as, or her.
I still think polytheism makes more sense than monotheism. Because if there's only one God in charge and clearly things are fucked up, he's got to take the blame. If you've got a dozen gods who are constantly bickering over who's in charge, it makes sense that things are fucked up.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I forgot now. I'm serious. I've forgotten words that I had in my head, and 3 seconds later, when I try to recall it because I'm going to write it down, it's gone.
Yeah, I understand that happens.
All right, avoiding the topic we were just talking about, I do want to point out that some conspiracy theories do turn out to be true, though. That is a statistical outlier, but it does happen. And some conspiracy theories are highly believable, like Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
See, but that one I tend to believe he didn't.
Oh, I think everyone believes that. It's just...
Yeah, well, I'm usually the first person to poo-poo any conspiracy theory, but even there, with that one, I'm not gonna stake my reputation on it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, same here.
Well, if somebody suddenly commits suicide who has a lot of incriminating information about a bunch of important people, you have to question it.
And he managed to do it. And he managed to do it with bed sheets that were designed to be tear away, just specifically to prevent that kind of suicide.
What I find amazing a lot of the time is that look, I kind of understand why people will get down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, but what I think what's amazing to me is that they'll come up with these deep, elaborate ones that have got to involve so many people, and then a lot of the time they miss a genuine cover-ups and stuff and conspiracies to cover shit up that actually did happen. The classic one I always will bring up, and this might not have any meaning to Americans, but I'm sure Stuhl will notice this. He's in the chat, and I know, Stuhl, you're not a football fan, but I'll just say the Hillsborough Stadium disaster, where there was a genuine cover-up by the police and the press and a couple of politicians to lie about what happened there, to get the police off the hook for their a complete fuck up, which led to the death of 97 people.
What happened?
Okay, well, what happened was there's a soccer stadium in Sheffield called Hillsborough, and it was the venue for a FA Cup semi-final in 1989. One of the teams playing was Liverpool, and their fans had been put into this one end of the ground. Now, the police that were in charge of this completely failed on the crowd control issues this day, and ended up funneling loads and loads of Liverpool fans into one section of the ground behind the goal, like this one pen. And you could see the other sections of the ground were practically empty. And you had all the people, thousands of people, just squashed into this combined space. Now, at the time, there were kind of cages in front of the football ground, so you couldn't just like jump over the barrier and get into the ground. There was like these big fences because of like they put them into like as a measure against football hooliganism. Or 97 people were crushed to death, and all on live television. I remember watching it, and in the immediate, in everyone, obviously this shocked the nation, but in the immediate aftermath of this, there was a deliberate attempt by the police to try and blame it on the soccer fans, which it was not their fault at all, and then just print this absolutely disgusting article in one of Murdoch's rags to Sun, which made all sorts of disgusting claims. And now it took the people about 25 years plus to get justice for that, or even an acknowledgement of, yes, this was the police's fault, and that there were certain people within like the media and certain members of parliament who conspired to cover this shit up to get the police off the hook. Not one of these single bloody conspiracy theorists who write about this stuff picked up on that one at all.
How did these people die? Was it from crowd crush?
Yeah, they were crushed.
Oh, okay.
Crowd crush, yeah. But it was like that's an example of a genuine cover up, and yes, as Stoll said, yes, the Sun newspaper said that these fans were like urinating on the coppers police officers who were trying, which is absolute rubbish. People knew it was rubbish at the time, but this was like a genuine. This was a genuine conspiracy to try and cover something up, and not one conspiracy theorist ever said anything about that one. It's like they missed the ones that are real.
I do have to say that most of the conspiracy theories that I've found were real or that I've actually believed generally involved a government agency trying to cover something up or trying to shift the blame onto someone else.
Yeah. I mean, look, that happened. It happens. I mean, I'm not saying that stuff like that doesn't happen, but I mean, usually, by nature of a conspiracy, the more people that are fucking in on it, the less likely it is to succeed.
Yeah. That's the
mathematical formula for that now.
Yeah.
What was that, Porpoise?
Someone came up with a mathematical formula to calculate how many people you would need to keep a secret.
Yeah.
Like there is a very
more people
small.
You have involved, the more likely it is to leak out.
Yeah.
There is a
we tell you what the formula is, but unfortunately, the globalist New World Order won't release that information.
Well, let Porpoise finish. She's trying to give it.
Yeah.
There's a very small statistical likelihood of the Earth being flat because the number of people who would need to be in on it are literally in the billions. Not to mention what the flat earthers have yet to answer. What does anyone gain by pretending the Earth is round?
That's usually where the conspiracy theories come apart. Is ask for a motive. Who is profiting off of this? You know, if you can't show that somebody has, you know, in some way profited off of it, it doesn't make sense that they would have put all the resources into it.
Well, that and in that one, there's just too much overwhelming evidence against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I just kind of recused myself from the whole flat Earth debate thing a while ago because I just couldn't deal with the level of fuckery with people that actually believed this. That I had to sort of realise it's just doing my own head in and driving me nuts engaging with these people. I'm just going to step away from that particular one.
The anti-flat Earth group that I'm with on TikTok is comprised of like 3 or 4 physicists, 1 or 2 astronomers, and then just other very smart people like me. And these idiots, no, that's not true. That's a lie. Yeah, you know, it's like, dude.
I mean,
how stupid can you be?
I mean, I've talked to like 1 or 2 of the people who've left Flat Earth, like Ranty and Seek True Speak Truth, who are like really cool people, and kind of realised that they were, you know, oh my god, how quickly the Flat Earth community turned on both of them when they came out of, you know, just like they had to be like paid opposition all along, sort of thing, and it was like no, they actually just kind of come to they were kind of convinced by arguments that were like, okay, I think I'm wrong here.
No, how could a flat earther be wrong?
But yeah, I don't get into those arguments, Chairman, because what's the point? They're just wrong, and I don't believe most of them are genuine anyway.
The point is that they got onto TikTok as a way to reach children, to draft them into their flat Earth nonsense, and to take children to expose them to that sort of shit, and to ignore critical thinking is absolutely wrong and has to be defended.
Yeah. That was it. Sleeping Warrior. He was trying to get onto TikTok for that, wasn't he?
Here's the good news. First of all, most of the children aren't watching those channels because they're boring. And 2, the ones that do are still laughing at the flat earthers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think Flat Earth probably had its peak about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's just like, you know, I mean, I hold my hand up. I used to enjoy watching a lot of the dumpster fire debates around Flat Earth. I used to. But after a while, it's just like you've heard the same thing over and over again. It's like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this now.
It's actually still kind of fun. In fact, there's one big thing that's going on right now, and I just laughed my ass off at it. We all know how the flat Earth concept theory, conspiracy theory goes. That it seemed to all center around Antarctica, and you know their little Gleason map that turns Antarctica into a ring instead of a continent.
Yeah,
and certain concepts that we know are to be true are ignored. You know, like going down to the South Pole and setting up a camera and watching the sun not set for 2 or 3 days.
But
there is a guy who apparently is fairly well off, who is going to pay for some flat earthers and some globe people to go down to Antarctica at the winter solstice.
Yeah.
And just prove them to once and for all that, look, see, it's real.
This is the thing. Jenny, that sort of thing's been talked about before. Okay,
it's really happening.
It's actually happening this time. But how many times this sort of thing has been like proposed? And then who are the people who always chicken out of actually going on this? It's the flat earthers.
Yep.
All right.
And that's what's happening now too. Is that He's saying he's willing to pay for them to go, and they're all coming up with excuses why they're not going.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I've seen this a few times where, it was like a couple of YouTubers that offered Russian vids a free trip somewhere, to see for him, set something for himself, and then he just found any excuse he could not to go.
Yeah.
Well,
for me, it's just part of my family heritage. Because before coming to the U.S., my great-grandparents lived above the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
So there was a period there that, in the winter, that the sun did not set or did not rise for a week, and in the summer it didn't set for a week.
All right, let's do some basic math here.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to jump off because it's like come up to almost 10 at night, and I need to get some sleep.
Actually, it's not even dinner time for me, but I'm fading too.
Good night, Pokey.
I'll see you later.
Pookie.
Okay. Good night, Jeff.
Yeah, the radius of the Earth is 3,958 miles about. So if we do what the flat earthers should do and do math about the circumference, or do math to find out the circumference of the Earth, and do the 2πr formula, they should get 24,856.24 miles as basically the radius of the Antarctic wall. So the radius of the actual highest point at Antarctica, or like the perimeter of Antarctica, or the coastline, is actually in kilometers.
What is it?
Hold on, let's get it in freedom units.
Yeah. Okay, Beampy is saying Witless is saying he's going. I'm not sure who you're...
Some of us know metric. Just tell me how much.
Well, the coastline isn't the good one. I would need to come up with a formula for the circumference at 60 degrees, which should be one of the wider points, which I think is 2 cosine 60.
Yeah.
Nobody needs exact figures here, okay? Like the Earth is 25,000 miles around.
Well, the coastline is the bad diameter at 60 degrees. Or circumference. So the actual circumference at about 60 degrees is about 12,000 miles.
I don't understand what you're saying at all.
So we're correct about the shape of the Earth, the widest circumference around Antarctica should be about 24,000. At its widest point, which is around 60 degrees, the circumference of the Earth is 12,000. It's about half that. And it's going to get lower the further south you go.
Yeah. If Antarctica was the outer ridge, the coastline of Antarctica would have to be significantly larger than the circumference around the equator.
Where do these 60 degrees come from? What's that about?
60 degrees is about where the Arctic Circle is, or Antarctic Circle is.
Yeah.
I think it's 66, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's about 60 degrees south on the globe.
Okay, I understand. Defining terms helps.
Yeah.
Curse your freedom units. So yeah, the actual circumference of Antarctica would be twice what the actual circumference of the Earth is at that latitude.
Now, is that with using Arabic numbers or?
Well, Arabic numbers originated in India.
Yeah. Well, the big thing is they still can't explain if the Earth is a flat disk and the sun is just making circles above it, why can't you see the sun at any time at night?
They don't have a consistent version of that, and
yeah,
nothing.
That's
when
what
it
I
comes,
mean. They don't have a decent explanation for how the sun and the moon move.
They
Or
don't
time
have a
zone.
decent explanation for anything, because anything that say this is true, it conflicts with about 10 or 15 other things that they say are also true.
Right.
They
Yeah.
can't even tell their story straight.
They can explain one thing at a time. They can't explain how any three things work together.
And besides, these days they're I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say.
They're kind of increasingly irrelevant because even their biggest one, like Jeranism, is known for proving his own model wrong.
Yeah. That they finally do the experiments and the results are interesting.
And the one
Yeah.
guy who bought the... I respect him for going out and getting like a $30,000 gyroscope.
It wasn't 30, it was 12,000, and
Yeah.
everybody exaggerates it to 20.
And that was a that was a fundraiser he did, so it was basically like a GoFundMe that he ran to buy it.
Hey, he still made the effort.
Yeah.
But every experiment he ran showed a 15 degrees per hour drift.
Yep.
And they called them all wrong.
And he called them all wrong.
Yeah. Well, he kept saying something was interfering, so then they tried it with putting it in a Faraday cage.
No, they put it in a bismuth cage, was their Faraday cage, because bismuth would prevent any of those energy particles and waves from outer space.
I should have known
from
it came
disturbing
back to crystals.
Yeah. I want to know where somebody gets a bismuth box.
There's some bismuth box.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering about where you'd get enough bismuth to make a container to put it in.
It's one of my most favorite minerals, or I shouldn't say minerals, elements. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I saw a channel that actually, showed how to make one.
Oh yeah.
Just from stuff you could buy at a pharmacy.
You can find a video that will tell you how to make opals.
I was wrong. Bismuth and its compounds are remarkably harmless, according to nature.
Isn't that what they used in Pepto-Bismol?
Yes. That's the channel I saw of him making it. He started by grinding up Pepto-Bismol.
So if Bob Knoebel was doing one of his testing at upset stomach, he could just chew on his box a little bit and he'd be fine. Chewing on a box is always a good thing.
Is Knoebel spelled Knoebel?
I think so.
Wow, there was an amusement park by that name where I grew up. Yeah, Knoebel's Amusement Park. It's the America's largest free admission amusement park.
It's really a sad story. I mean, he seemed like he was a perfectly nice guy. He certainly was intelligent enough, but he denied COVID and it killed him.
Yeah.
And that's just sad. Nobody wants to see people die from that shit.
Well, and unfortunately, that's really a big part of the problem with the flat Earth. Is it's like, people get that mindset. If they buy into one conspiracy, they're much more likely to believe a bunch of other ones as well.
Gravity is not magnetic. Period.
I don't know. I think all questions that involve magnets have to be referred to Dr. Tapioca Weasel.
I don't know. This summer has made me want to play a White Wolf mage, especially a Son of Ether. Sorry, I guess it's Council of Ether now. Because even in role-playing games, the sexist organizations can progress. Just not in real life.
Well, not familiar with the game, so not really following you there.
Mage the Ascension is one of... I don't know if you played Vampire the Masquerade at any point. It was popular in the 90s.
No, I've seen other people play it, but I've never been involved.
There were other games that were in the same universe with, like, the one that came out after Vampire was Werewolf the Apocalypse, where you're playing werewolves. Mage the Ascension is you're just playing mages that have... That can essentially have... The whole idea of mage is, like, the mages are engaged in a war over who gets to control reality. Because they have the idea of consensual reality where everyone agrees what reality is because we all agree that's what reality is. And mages can break that. But
Is that true, Mage? Can you break reality?
I don't think.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time.
Your own personal reality. I mean, you did drive me crazy once, but.
But yeah, the one after that was Wraith the Oblivion, and the final one was Changeling the Dreaming.
Jenny, I didn't think anybody had to drive you crazy. I thought it was just a short walk.
No, it's more like a vacation for me.
Yeah, it's good to go insane for a little while and then come back. Yeah, I'll go along with that.
I just could never find postcards.
Really? You never went to Edge, Minnesota?
Is there an Edge, Minnesota?
I don't know.
Oh, speaking of postcards, my eldest brother, who will not acknowledge anything about me that he finds unacceptable. So of course he sent me a birthday card, which I did not know you could get Peanuts cards that had Bible quotes in them.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah, Charles Schulz was a lay preacher in the Church of Christ.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that somebody's actually making cards with it, but I happened to something I got kind of with something else I bought. I don't even remember what it was. With a book I bought or something, I've got a postcard that if he bothers to read on the back as far as the imprint, it gives the website for where to buy a bunch of atheist reading cards. So I think that's the one I'm going to send in reply to him.
Okay, so I was looking up bismuth, and I found this cute little guy.
Oh, I want him. That'd make a great pendant.
Well, that's beautiful.
Well, I wanted to see if they had any other critters made of bismuth, and I found another turtle by the same company, but well.
Oh.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
And they say that's like basically inert to humans. And it'd be an interesting thing to. Well, never mind.
Very interesting planter, huh?
I was.
Somebody should make a teapot like that.
But yeah, the little turtle is fine.
Yeah, I like the sea turtle. I've always liked turtles. They've always been one of my special interests since I was a child.
Mage, could you find just a generalized picture of bismuth? I bet there's a lot of people who don't know what it looks like.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
Just what the raw crystals look like.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not.
Well, fortunately, these days, a lot more people know what it looks like because of Steven Universe.
No, just hit images in
There
Google. There we go.
Yeah, it's really strange because it is the only crystals that you actually get like 90-degree corners.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that it forms up into little squares and cubes on its own.
And there's so, it's like a snowflake. It's infinite how many ways there is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat crystal.
It is.
Yeah, I forget what the natural process is, how they form.
And to think it's good for your tummy. Have you got bismuth poor digestion? That's from iron poor blood, geritol. Never mind, it's 50 years old, folks.
No, I was just thinking that they were going to run out of crystals and they'd have to go out of bismuth.
Oh, man. So Sloth Girl really didn't pass away, did she?
I've been trying to channel her. For about the first week, it seemed I couldn't make a joke at all.
Well, I think you're hooked up again. That was terrible. I love it.
Hey, if you have an iPhone, just say, "Hey Siri, tell me a joke."
Hey Siri.
Thank you, Siri.
We couldn't really hear it. You'll have to repeat it to Porpoise.
Well, I wasn't trying to get Siri to respond. My iPad's in another room.
Oh.
Well,
Okay.
you know,
Miss Beamsy's comment about the planter.
yeah.
I don't get it. What do you mean? Doesn't look like a rooster.
Roosters are nasty little fuckers. You know,
Oh,
I
you
had a
do
few
that. You do
times
that
that.
with you do that with them, huh?
Well, they'll try to do that to you if you turn your back on them.
Chickens are just mean.
Well,
Yeah, my sister kept chickens for the eggs, so you know there were times that I had to like watch them for a weekend or that for her. And yeah,
You
trying to get the rooster back into the barn when he wasn't ready to go yet.
you don't need a rooster to have eggs.
No,
well,
you don't. The rooster is mostly to protect the chickens, you know, from predators while they're running around.
yeah. The trick with roosters is you want to show dominance. What you can do is they'll hold him down. You basically put your fingers on the back of his neck and just kind of hold his head down to the ground for like maybe a minute or two, and then release him. And if he starts keep acting up, you do it again.
Oh, I found the trick with the rooster was to always carry a walking stick so I could keep him 3 feet away from me.
Actually, the funniest thing I ever saw was that one point my sister was keeping chickens, and my niece decided to raise some like dwarf chickens. You know, unfortunately, the dwarf chickens ended up on the dinner table, but eventually. But
Beansy, yes, put on your geologist hat and tell me, where do you find bismuth out in the real world?
the craziest thing about that is they kept the rooster. So the rooster got moved in with like the regular sized chickens. And that little dwarf rooster was just like very protective of all the hens. It was so cute. It's like the rooster was like trying to like show how big it was. All the female chickens were bigger than it.
Yep.
I love that chicken video where chicken's in the yard and a hawk comes down to take it, and the rest of the chickens say, "No, you're not. That's not going to happen," and they attack them, and they win. It let up.
Oh, I've seen crows gang up on hawks before.
They
I've
have
seen crows
sunglasses for chickens.
I've seen crows do an aerial dogfight with a red-tailed hawk.
Yeah, that crows are tough.
Well, I suppose especially if they're protecting a nest.
Well, I mean, the crows, I don't know. The crows were just defending their territory, too. It's like
Yeah.
the hawk was trying to hunt them, and the crows were like, no, you're not.
There's a very weird relationship that crows have with owls. They're apparently each other's most feared enemy, and they will go after each other and destroy nests and kill each other.
Well, most owls are nocturnal, I believe, and crows are not.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. I wouldn't have thought they'd interact very much.
You don't have to be nocturnal to have somebody invade your nest. It's still visible during the day.
Yeah. So basically, they're trying to destroy each other's homes while they're asleep.
Well, it makes sense if they're competing for nesting territories.
Yeah, but Beamsy, I'm with Jenny. You know, if you can tell us what are the conditions where you find bismuth, how it's naturally formed, and where you'd find it.
I mean, I know where you go to pick agates up off the ground. That would be called Lake Superior. There's a section of the beach in near the Apostle Islands that agates are just freaking everywhere.
Well, I've got a handful of Euper stones that Steve Ballman, you know, had sent for Sloth Girl.
All I know is I know far more about maritime disasters in the Great Lakes than I should.
Yeah. But yeah, for people who aren't familiar with them, Euper stones are only found along the shores of Lake Superior, and I keep forgetting what element is in them, but they phosphoresce in the dark. They phosphoresce under a UV light.
Oh. Well, there is a bioluminescent fungus that you can find in most woods along the coast.
I just saw a program on Nova, or was it Nature? One of the two that we're talking about. Scientists who have begun to investigate this.
Could be either one.
Glowing animals and plants and things, and they have found in coral reefs, if you go down at night with a UV light, that almost everything glows. Fish, coral, rocks, everything.
So, BMC, I have a question for you. How would you put out the mine fire in Centralia, Pennsylvania? Probably not your area.
Here, I had to look up what chemical it was, but it's sodalite in the Upers that makes them phosphorus orange under a UV light.
Orange. That's interesting.
Yep. They're very cool.
I think I wanted to go to Indiana Beach this summer. I forgot, but that's up. I think that's up north, near at the border of Lake Michigan.
Okay. BMZ says most of the crystals you find naturally are near old copper and tin mines. You can also get it from volcanic vents as it is a sulfite.
I imagine you'd have to do a lot of refining if it's a sulfite in volcanic rock.
They're in the Great Lakes due to all the metalworks that's been done by Canada and the U.S. over the past 100 years.
And that's okay, BMZ. There are multiple reasons why they're not going to put out the Centralia mine fire. Including they don't know where all the tunnels of the mines were.
Well, I understand they just can't. It's too massive. It's just unfightable.
Well, it's not the only mine fire that's been going on for a long time. It's just...
Yeah. Well, there isn't really any way that they can, cut off all the oxygen if they can't find every hole to the surface.
It's also in one of the world's largest veins of coal, so it's going to be burning for a while.
Yeah. It's got plenty of fuel, so as long as it can get air, it's going to keep going.
And I think one of the oldest mine fires they know of has been burning for 6,000 years.
Really?
Yep, it's
I didn't know about that one.
They believe it got started by lightning.
No, those Sumerians were just careless with their cigarette butts.
In Australia?
Well, they get around.
Oh, right. Maybe when they had to disperse from the Ark.
Yep. Australia's burning mountain 6,000 years ago.
If it was Australia, it was the Hawks who started it. They've actually shown the Hawks will spread wildfires into the grasses to flush out rodents.
Who has heard recent news on that gigantic sinkhole that happened on the football field?
Which football field?
I don't remember, but it was big news for a few days on TV. It's like practically 100 feet wide.
I remember seeing the headlines about the sinkhole, but I didn't read the article.
See, the last sinkhole story I remember was like a Ford enthusiast. Why can't I not pronounce words today? Being very happy that the Corvette Museum had a massive sinkhole open under
God. That was just tragic. As a car collector myself, it's just that I would just cry so hard.
Yeah, well, it's like, that museum didn't have any particular meaning to me, but, I can understand that, it was the loss of things that some people considered priceless.
Well, this was a Ford enthusiast who was happy no Mustangs were taken.
Yep.
Corvette's not a Ford.
Yes, she was She was happy no Mustangs were taken.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's Beck's sharing a link here. I'm not sure what this is.
But sinkholes are just a natural consequence of
Oh, okay. Yeah, Beck's got a video here of the sinkhole forming that you can actually, see.
Oh, wow.
Like one of the lights just collapsing into it.
Can we play it?
Yeah, let me get this up. No, that's the other one. No, that's not right. There we are.
Yeah.
I think.
When I was going to high school in Michigan, we had one of those because that's, all of the towns there were there because of the iron ore mines.
Is anyone close enough to Nerdy to spank him?
Don't really know very well where Nerdy lives.
Oh, apparently my dad didn't go to St. Luke's rehab today.
Oh,
Well, he's still in the hospital. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the one.
Yep.
Wow.
That's
I mean,
a
the
great
last I
video
heard is
where
that
you see the light tower fall straight down.
the last I heard is that it's still opening further. Sinkholes are just the stuff made of nightmares.
Yeah, well, that's where I lived in Michigan. My last year of high school up there, there was one that literally opened up under one of the city streets in the town, the neighboring town.
Really? Because
And it opened up a sinkhole that wound up swallowing like 3 or 4 cars.
Thanks for finding that, Beck.
Portraying the worms as like massive sinkhole-like objects was one of the things I found less frightening about the new Dune than the old one.
Well, I understand there's so many sinkholes in Florida because it's basically on top of old coral reefs that are porous as fucking limestone.
And there's a lot of
and it just rots away easy from the water movement, and that's what happens.
It's from building on wetlands.
Well, what Jenny's saying too, that it often happens where the rain eventually erodes the limestone underneath, so it creates a cavity that eventually collapses.
Yeah, there was some guys in the whole talk about all that kind of stuff in Florida. These scientists who decided to scuba dive in this underground river that's under parts of Florida, and they were able to go 50 freaking miles or something like that underground, under all these businesses and streets and just all over the place.
Scuba diving it's inherently dangerous.
Yeah,
I can't imagine the type of people who would want to do cave diving.
Yeah, I would never, ever, 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 ever. I have this thing with claustrophobia, and
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it either.
I have to thank my father for it. God.
Where is the city in the world that stinks the most?
I think that's supposed to be Sinks.
With Nerdy, I wasn't sure.
I was just going to say the whole of Texas.
With Nerdy, I was half expecting a joke about Limburger cheese. So.
And that's whole with a W.
I don't know. For the longest time, even after I moved here, if you Googled why does the name of the city I currently live in, the next word right after it, as the first search result would be smell. But they had like a pulp processing plant right next to the store plant.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently before I moved here, it's just like, if the wind hit it just right, it gave a certain aroma.
Milwaukee used to have, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 major leather companies, and it's a very smelly process. And they were all in one general area of the Lower East Side. And when the wind came off of those, oh my God, it was so horrible.
Well, where Sloth Girl grew up, when the wind changed direction, then it would come from the sauerkraut factory, and there was no escaping it.
Some people like the smell of sauerkraut, but I personally hate it.
Nerdy, Milwaukee is sinking. It has been forever. There are many buildings downtown that are like half of their first floor is at sidewalk level.
Well, Miami is slowly going underwater as well. Louisiana is below sea level, or not Louisiana. New Orleans is below sea level. And Venice has been sinking for centuries.
I'm sorry, who's sinking for centuries?
Venice.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, which Venice?
Venice, Italy. it's been an ongoing fight for them to keep the sea from completely flooding the city.
Yeah, Venice, Florida is just rotting from the inside out.
Listen, we all know Florida is going to be saved somewhat when the army with mouse ears comes in and takes over Florida.
Yep.
The Mouseketeer Army.
Hmm.
Well, that would be fun.
Well, it may not happen if Ron DeSantis goes away, but
God, what an absolutely horrible human being he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Disney as a corporation, but I didn't like cheering for them because they were at least on the right side of this.
But I have to excuse myself again.
Well, and I understand that Florida was doing it all for corporate reasons, but still, at least they were accomplishing something for a better end. Florida knew what Ron DeSantis was doing was just fucking up the tourist industry.
Well, Disney isn't all bad, I'm sure, but it's just Disney is Disney. It's a corporation.
Yeah.
They're pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Well, I'm just saying that virtually every decision they make is going to be based on which way is this going to make us the most money.
I'm not so sure about that anymore.
Oh?
I don't know. Some of the decisions lately seem to be just costing them money left and right. They don't seem to be changing course.
Well, they're having internal power struggles among the executives.
Disney has driven some interesting technologies, like they supported the development of the programming language Smalltalk, which was one of the first object-oriented programming languages. And they developed a version of Smalltalk specifically for Disney, and there's an open source implementation of it called Squeak. Now, I personally don't like the way Smalltalk does things, and it's bizarre.
Wait, something from Disney that's open source?
No, Squeak is an open source implementation of what Disney did.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll be okay because I think after they form their army, Nerdy is going to go in and cause a coup.
Listen, I don't think Disney's literally going to raise an army to take over Florida.
Actually, I don't think that an army of actual mice would be any worse than the people who are running it now.
But Disney invested a lot of money into Florida, and Ron DeSantis was really attacking them for no good reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never understood what DeSantis's motivations were in any of this anyway, but, I think it was just because they stood up to him about, the gay things.
Money, votes, and power.
Political power, mostly. Fortunately, I think he killed his career. Because he has no charisma, and he just didn't inspire people the way Trump did.
Yeah, they found out that his stuff only worked in Florida. It didn't work when he went to other states.
Doesn't exactly work in Florida either, but...
Oh, it's almost...
Well, it did for a while. That's how he got his position. But yeah, the more people learned about him.
It's almost 6 o'clock, by the way, if anyone's paying attention.
Yeah, we should probably wrap up here.
But we only have 7 minutes.
You don't think it's going to take us 7 minutes to do the wrap up?
Well, let's make sure it takes us that much. I would be so heartbroken.
Well, that depends on how cooperative the 4 cats and 1 dog are. Fortunately, Athena is napping.
What's dog got to do with it?
What's dog got to do with it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, Mage is the only person I know that has a dog here.
She's sleeping.
I've had dogs in my heart all my life. I just can't have them in real life anymore.
I have kitties because I have a small apartment. If I had the room, I would have dogs as well.
Yeah, well, if they had smaller dogs when I went to go get Athena, it might have been a dog.
But see, smaller dogs tend to have high-pitched yaps, and I can't deal with that. I need a dog big enough to have more of a bass woof.
See, I probably would have gone for a beagle, which would have given us like the pleasant baying sound they make. Well, kind of pleasant until you hear it like 3 a.m. repeatedly.
I've
Yeah,
always
Molly-
been fond of the sled dog varieties, and I think ideally that a dog standing next to you should come somewhere between your knee and your hip.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a large dog.
I taught my sister's American Foxhound to sing the blues as one of her tricks.
There, a new video showing up. It's a split screen and guys dancing, and the other screen is a. I don't think it's a cockatiel, like a green parrot or something like that, one of the smaller ones, and is doing the exact same dance moves as the human. And it's just like, holy shit! Ginger Rogers came back as a bird.
I can believe that that the bird, if he watched a guy do the same dance enough times, that the bird would copy it.
Probably the other way around. The bird is doing the dance, and then the guy's copying it.
Well, either way, I mean, if the bird doesn't have, any bird partners, the bird might wind up trying to copy the human mating dance.
Because the bird wants to screw you.
If the bird sees you as its only chance of mating, yeah.
Yeah, but what if it got stuck? Then you got to go to the ER. It'll probably suffocate. Just
This isn't the one you were talking about, but see the bird dancing and the kid.
Yep.
I love parrots. God almighty, they're wonderful creatures.
It's some kind of a cockatoo, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a cockatoo.
Yeah.
They're very known. They're known for dancing.
And to think in Australia, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're wild.
They like come and hang out on your porch, and they'll get to know ya.
Yeah. Well,
Come back, bring its family, bring its friends.
Yeah, well, parakeets will flock by the thousands there.
Hey, I've seen people befriend crows too, so.
Oh yeah, that would be the ultimate for me.
Yeah, but when you see these brightly colored birds, that are just flocks of hundreds of them all moving together, that's just something else.
Yeah, I'd love to get a lorikeet.
Nerdy, I would have preferred some ska.
Techno parrots.
Wait, you make spaghetti dance?
By the way, as a lifelong resident of Milwaukee, I would like to apologize to everybody for allowing this convention Republican thing to happen in our city. It's really very disappointing, and the city has never smelled worse.
Yeah, well, it's not the fault of the city.
Listen, at least you don't have to apologize to the wrong type of person about the people in your state not being better shots.
Yep. Chicken woman?
I've heard Chicken Man.
Dancing. I'm kind of wondering where this went.
Chicken Man was a space hero or a superhero.
So you're in Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, on the shores of the Great Lake, Michigan.
Let's see. I'm trying to find you some affordable little Wi-Fi.
Oh, no.
The offer for the laptop still stands.
In Milwaukee, I would just go park in my brother's driveway, and I get all the Wi-Fi I want.
Yeah, there
Of course, they get upset with me sleeping overnight.
Well, there are places that do government Wi-Fi things for places.
Yeah.
Apparently in Milwaukee. But...
Well, like I said,
Actually, I think that's
after hours, I used to just sit in the courtyard at the library, and I
I
could
think-
just use the library's Wi-Fi all night.
I think that's a federal program, actually, because I know I can get like. I mean, it's not quite as good as the internet I have now, which I pay slightly more for. But if I
Yeah.
wanted to go down, I can get like $29.99 just based on like having my current insurance or where I live right now. As long
Yeah,
as I
for
can
Jenny,
afford
it's
it.
more a matter of what's in her town that she can get to
See.
easily.
See, we got a affordable connectivity program that takes $30 off the bill.
Actually, I believe that's been defunded in this year's budget.
Well,
And
What?
even when it was running, I applied for it and I made too much money.
Yeah, really.
You know, that $1,000 a month that I get from Social Security is just too much to qualify for any of that shit.
That's stupid.
Yeah, that's
probably-
sad how low the cutoff is for a lot of these useful
Well-
programs.
Well, I was able to get $15 a month for food stamps.
Well, one of these need to be indexed to inflation, which they haven't been. The minimum wage needs to be indexed to inflation.
Yeah.
And we probably should have some law capping executive pay.
Yeah, about half
Yeah.
of what it is now.
I'll just make it like 300%. When they've done this, the best results were capping it at a certain percentage of what their workers made.
I like that idea of capping it at like 50 times what the lowest paid worker makes. So, that in order to get an increase, the CEO's got to give an increase to the janitors.
Not a bad idea. Anyway, we were trying to wrap things up here.
Anyway, go ahead, Mage.
Well, I'll be probably working on some videos for my new channel, and I'm trying to get a review of the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire out, and hopefully I can get something out from my gardening channel at some point here. So that's kind of things in limbo at the moment. So anyone else have anything they want to fill?
What's your channel?
Mage's Media Musings.
Okay. You might want to put a link to it in the chat if you can.
Yep.
Sure.
Are you still doing the garden channel?
Yes, I'm still doing the gardening
Oh, okay.
channel.
Yeah, he's just been working on a project for the gardening channel that involved a lot more research than he expected.
Yeah, I have several that one thing I'm waiting for is I just need somebody to give me a voice of saying water for like just a joke for one of the videos so I can get it out.
All right, I am the Sinister Porpoise. When you think of Sinister Porpoises, think of the Sinister Porpoise. My channel, however, has been defunct for a while. Maybe someday I'll come back to it. But if you want to get math and computer science content, there's a link below. The next channel I have coming out will probably either be about a data science project I'm working on, where I'm going to see if the Book of Mormon books were all written by the same author, or how 12 different authors, which they're supposed to be. And unfortunately, someone wants me to take a look at their trial division algorithm, which I think, based on what I'm seeing right now, he doesn't understand what a prime number is. Be excellent to each other, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.
Is 1 a prime number?
No.
I thought so.
1 doesn't count?
Nope.
A prime number has the factors of 1 and itself.
3.
One only
It
has
starts
one
at
factor.
3. 3, 5,
two.
7.
Yeah.
3, 5, 7, 11.
2 is a
2?
prime number.
Oh, yeah. You're right. 2,
No,
3,
no.
5, 7.
Well, I thought
11.
1 was also because 1
No.
is the only factor of 1.
Yeah, the only factor of 1 are 1 and itself. There's no other factor of 1.
Yeah.
Well, it's the loneliest number.
Okay.
2 is the only even positive. Is the only even prime
Well,
number.
who did I hear saying that? There was
Don't
some
like-
conspiracy freak yesterday that was talking about that 0 doesn't exist, and
Terrence Howard.
well, it might have been him, but it wasn't. He might have said that, but it wasn't him yesterday.
Yeah. All the stuff you're hearing like that is just bad math is coming from Terrence Howard right now.
Okay, well, I don't have anything special going on lately, so just be back here same time next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central.
Tubi, and they are very much in one of the most favored places for the gay population in Milwaukee. They're near Water Street.
Yep. Well, keep hearing about that whenever the Republicans have a convention anywhere, that the gay sex workers wind up making a lot more money that weekend.
I imagine the regular sex workers do too.
Yeah, but one of the things was that somebody who had like infiltrated the Republican convention, I can't remember his name, and it was just like filming some things and showing what was going on. Activated Grindr because they knew it had a locate feature of people near you, and like 100 phones in the audience went off.
Oh, that's great. I love it when Republicans get caught in their hypocrisy. There's just nothing more fun.
Did anyone see the news story where the head of the or not the head, but one of the higher ups in the Heritage Foundation was mad because a group of gay furry hackers leaked their documents?
Yes.
Yep.
No, that was that the no? Yeah, you're right. It was Heritage.
And there's just a hilarious chat that was released because the guy's like, "We're going to out you and your disgusting lifestyle."
Dude, I'm already out. In fact, go check Craigslist.
Yeah.
Jordan on the Dead Domain channel.
Dead Domain channel?
I just what's written. I don't know what it means.
Oh, I do. She's a trans
okay.
YouTuber who's done a couple things. I think I know who is Tubian. I don't know Tubian's pronouns, but I think I know who Tubian is talking about.
Yeah, I think that was in reference to the hackers. That's Jordan's one of the hackers.
Oh, the tech channels are having a field day with this one. Because they just think like, just like this RNC clueless like representative is like, you have a disgusting lifestyle. We're gonna out everyone, and they're like, dude, it's like they're probably already out.
Okay.
I have to admit, I absolutely relish anytime I get the opportunity to fuck with a trans hater's mind when they say something like, well, this has just all been invented since like 2000, like a couple of years ago. Really, dude? Come here, let's talk.
There are certain
How old are you?
Are almost true, like the modern concept of homosexuality and transgenderism are fairly recent, but that doesn't mean that these things are new. It's just that our modern conception of them.
Yeah.
But nuance is lost on those people.
You have had people, way back in ancient history, be these things that we were describing now, but they just wouldn't have used these descriptive terms.
Mm-hmm.
Or even maybe not even had similar concepts to it, really. But they would have been talking about the same thing. If
anybody's curious just how far back we go, get on YouTube and do a search for Sumerian trans, and you'll find a whole series of YouTube videos that talk about trans history and how we know it's 6,000 years old.
Yeah.
Even if you just have a passing interest and have had some education, you'll know that the modern concept of like a gender binary is relatively recent.
In terms of terminology, but not in terms of existence.
No, I mean, the gender binary, like there are only two genders, is actually fairly recent in human history.
Yeah, okay. And it's very much, something that comes from the Western European culture. If you look in almost any other culture, they will acknowledge multiple genders.
Like, I think the Hebrew Bible recognizes 8 different genders, something like that.
The Talmud.
Talmud.
Yeah, Ember did a video on that explaining the 8 different genders that are recognized in the Talmud.
Oh, I want to go catch that. That sounds interesting.
That was a few months back. I don't quite remember what the title of it was.
When you said I want to go catch that, I was thinking like a fish or a firefly.
I was thinking disease, but that's just me.
Oh, I could make a joke about an STI, but it just wouldn't be funny.
Depends on who's got it. How they caught it. You know that hypocrisy thing?
Yeah, but we don't want those things spreading regardless.
I'd like to let a bunch of bed bugs go in a Republican's hotel room that they're carrying STI. It's just nip, nip, nip.
Okay, well, I think that's it for us for today. So thank you all for coming, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you. It's always nice to come.
Bye-bye.